This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
This is unbelievable! Zenyatta! What a performance, one we'll never forget!
And Alishiba, America's horse, has done it!
Wise Dan, brilliant in the mile! It is all Songbird, Mike Smith aboard, crushing the field.
And Kosepper is pulling away impressively.
And it's a vintage performance by Vino Rosso!
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Mucho Macho Man, the more they asked, the more he gave.
Sierra Leone does it in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Here is our King to win it in an absolute shocker. He's 99 to 1.
He's an everlasting credit to the sport. American Pharaoh has belted a Grand Slam in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Arrowgate still coming. California Drum. Arrowgate steals the show in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Here's the wire. Princess Rooney, an absolute runaway winner.
But this brilliant filly's going to take them all the way. Torpedo Anna, what a year for her.
Lightline has won the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Now, here's Mike Penna.
Good morning once again, everyone. Happy Breeders' Cup Saturday. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, welcoming you to the show that launched a network. It is the Equine Forum. It is all right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network. Thrilled to have you back in the saddle with me on a very special edition of the program. The next 3 hours dedicated to Breeders' Cup Saturday and a look back at Breeders' Cup Friday. You, of course, are tuned in nationwide on Sirius 162, XM 207, our affiliates in Lexington, Louisville, and across the country, and streaming worldwide and podcast on our website, horseracingradio.net, or wherever you listen to your podcast. If I don't say this now, I know I'm going to forget it. So here you go. For those of us that do so, don't forget to turn your clocks back tonight. There, I did it, got it out of the way. If I remember later, I'll try to remind you again. Don't forget, that comes up later tonight. Congratulations to the connections of all 5 Breeders' Cup winners yesterday. 9 more Breeders' Cup champions set to be crowned later today. I'll talk more about that as we move throughout the program. Cy-Fair got us started yesterday with a win in the Juvenile Turf Sprint. Super Corridora came up next with a wire-to-wire victory in the Juvenile Fillies. You're going to hear from those connections coming up in just a minute. Valentina won the Juvenile Fillies Turf, giving young Donica O'Brien, the son of Aidan O'Brien, his first Breeders' Cup victory. Congratulations to him. Ted Noffey, his win in the Juvenile left no doubt about who is going to be champion 2-year-old and the Winterbook favorite for this year's Kentucky Derby. As a matter of fact, Churchill Downs closed their first future wager pool yesterday at 6 o'clock Eastern. That was an hour and 45 minutes before the Juvenile was set to be run. All others, as you might expect, closed as the 6-5 favorite in that first Kentucky Derby pool. Ted Noffey, he topped the individual betting choices at 10-1. I bet you those odds would have been much lower had that pool closed about 2 hours later. And then you had Stodd, who won the Juvenile Turf. That was an historic win for trainer Aidan O'Brien. His record 21st Breeders' Cup victory. That broke the tie that he came into this year with the late Hall of Famer D. Wayne Lucas. So Aidan O'Brien now stands alone atop that list. Congratulations to him. You're going to hear from Aidan momentarily on what that means to him and to his program and to his team. And every year when we get to the Breeders' Cup, the Riders' Cup comparison comes up because there's so much pride in all of the horses that make the pilgrimage to the United States for the Breeders' Cup races every year, whether they come from, it doesn't matter if they come from Japan or Uruguay or France or Italy or they come from England. It doesn't matter. Wherever those horses come from, there's so much pride that their connections bring with them. Same thing for the U.S. horses. There's a lot of pride. And now you're defending your home turf. And the home team Americans, they held serve yesterday. After day one, 3-2 over the Europeans. As you might expect, the Europeans are going to be tough in all the turf races. But so far, the Americans holding their own. My poll question for you this morning. Tell us your best bet on this Breeders' Cup Saturday. What's your best bet? I think if I asked you that question yesterday, Ted Noffey would have been a logical choice. Most people expected that he was going to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. It wasn't maybe as flashy or as brilliant as a lot of people expected. There were some things that Johnny V had to work through during that trip. You're going to hear from Johnny in just a moment as he met with the media after the race. But tell us your best bet on this Breeders' Cup Saturday. Trying to think about standout horses, right? If you could find one or two that look like a Ted Noffey-esque type of bet on this Saturday. And I don't know if many of these races are going to feature huge standouts. I guess you could say maybe Rebel's Romance in the Breeders' Cup Turf. Rebel's Romance has been fantastic. He's looking to become the first 3-time winner of the Turf this afternoon. Maybe he'd be your horse that you could key on and say, okay, if he gets the trip, if he's 100% on his A game, he wins this thing. But other than that, I think most of the races today pretty wide open, especially with the defection of Sovereignty. That news coming out on Wednesday, that he would officially be scratched after spiking a fever. So he's out of the Classic. That makes the Classic pretty much anybody's race, and it may have been anyway. But Sovereignty was going to be the heavy favorite in there. Not the case anymore. So let me know your thoughts. Who is your best bet on this Breeders' Cup Saturday? You can go to @HRRN on X. You can go to Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook. And if you don't do social media, email the show, Mike@horseracingradio.net. Let's see how many Sharpies we have in HRN Nation. I'll pass along some of those answers later in the program. All right, here's a couple of sound bites that I pulled for you. I think you're going to enjoy hearing, in their words, if you will, about some of the results we saw yesterday. We're going to start with the Juvenile and that win by Ted Noffey. I said that it wasn't exactly it was a win that stamped him as the best 2-year-old in the country right now and the Winter Book favorite for the Kentucky Derby. But Johnny had some things to work through. John Velasquez, Todd Pletcher met with the media after the race, and Johnny started by walking through his trip aboard Ted Noffey.
We broke well. We expect him, he's done that every start, so I expect him for him to, get a good start out there. Door opens, he was gone. Basically put my hands down, loose reins, keep him, where he's happy. I had the target in front of me, I thought he was a horse he beat. I was very confident the way he was doing in the backstretch, and I was very close to Fabian's, and but the 3-8 pole, I make sure that I put a little bit of pressure to him, and I got to him very easily. I thought it probably was going to take me a little more that I needed to do, and it didn't though. By coming down the stretch, he put half a line in front of the other horse, and between that and the shadow from the building, and he started waiting though. You can see like he idled. More than idled. He went to almost a gallop, basically. Right. And it scared me for a second, but once he passed the shadow, and I went up and re-engaged him, he re-engaged again right away. So then after that was pretty easy, though. Just that little step there that when he was passing that shadow type of thing, he kind of idled a little bit.
And then it looked like he was pretty willing coming to the wire and going on out, wasn't he?
After that, when he re-engaged, he was back to his normal routine. It was just right before the wire, but right before that shadow between the building and the 8 pole. So after that, was pretty easy, though. Yeah.
Todd, for you now, you've had a lot of top 2-year-olds over the years. But what does it take for a horse to start where he did? Go through a year like this undefeated, ship across country, win a race like this. That's a lot to ask, and he answered all the questions.
Yeah, that was certainly a concern. We wanted to have enough experience. We wanted a 2-turn race under his belt. We also wanted to be careful that we didn't overdo it. But it seemed like every time we asked him to do something, he was there for us and stepped up and just kept improving. And he's got such a great temperament and disposition that it made it easy to make moves like going from Saratoga to Keeneland, and then from Keeneland back to Saratoga to prepare to come here. And he settled in here like a old 5-year-old that's been running forever, and took everything in stride. And so that's aside from his obvious natural talent and abilities, he's got a terrific mind to go along with it that really helps.
Well, if you got the mind, and that's something we talk about a lot when horses go from their 2-year-old to 3-year-old campaigns, if you have that mental fortitude and the mind that Todd Pletcher just talked about, that's a huge asset. A lot of horses have the physical talent and ability, but when it comes down to it, the mental side of it isn't there. Or they'll have the mental side and maybe they don't have the physical abilities. But Ted Naufy, as you just heard from his Hall of Fame trainer, appears to have both, and that's going to make him very dangerous as we move into the road to the Kentucky Derby Series going into 2026. John Velasquez, walking through that trip, a couple of interesting things. He talked about the shadow from the building, and those are things that you just don't, especially when you're talking about these young horses that can come into play, but they're things that you just don't think about, right? And then he talked about kind of idling when he got past Brandt. He had the target in front of him. That was good. And then he kind of idled a little bit, and Johnny had to stay after him, and then the shadows and all of these different things that play into it. Not the first time we've seen shadows have an impact or come up in a conversation when we're talking about a Breeders' Cup race. You remember in 1990 in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, Dejour looked like he was a winner. Jumped a shadow right before the finish line. Ended up getting beat that year. Shadows tend to play a role in the Breeders' Cup from time to time, and that was very interesting with Johnny taking you inside that race. Well, Hector Berrios recorded his first Breeders' Cup win when he won the Juvenile Fillies yesterday, and John Sadler was all smiles after the race as well. Hector met with the media, as did John Sadler, and Hector started by talking about what it means to win that first Breeders' Cup race.
Well, it's amazing. Amazing. The last medal, I watch the TV, I feel the other feeling come back and won. And the finishing line, I want to cry, very excited for my first Breeders' Cup. I want to say thankful, John Sadler and the owner for this. The moment for me is great.
Just regarding the race, it looked like leaving the gate you were very intent on getting to the front. Was that the plan going in?
Yes, exactly. He told me, all right, let's go to the lead. I need to go to the lead. The other people I see, maybe decide, she is launched up, you leave. All right. She go the race perfect. For this, I go to the lead. She go very comfortable. And when the last turn, I ask if she respond.
John, next question's for you, please. This filly's obviously done well since going 2 turns. Was that your expectations with her initially, or was that something that you learned as you went along with her?
No, I always expected her to improve around 2 turns. You know, the gun runners, there's not a hotter stallion in the country than gun runner. And they really, to me, they move up when they go from a 6 furlong to a mile. So we had high expectations. And the last race, wasn't just that she broke her maiden. She was aggressive. She won by 8.5. She could have won by 15. So we took a little chance and wheeled her back in 3 weeks, and it worked out.
And speaking, as I did with Hector before he left, about the strategy in here, was that your intention, or what you had told him, that you wanted to take the track from everybody?
I did. I feel she's very rhythmic. She's got a beautiful stride. Even if she was going a little fast, if I felt she was comfortable, she would keep going.
Voters are now going to have an interesting decision with Super Corredora. Is that victory enough to give her the championship honors, the Eclipse Award honors for the juvenile filly champion? We will see. A huge effort for her. And again, congratulations to all those connections. Aidan O'Brien wrapped up Breeders' Cup Friday by becoming the all-time winning trainer in Breeders' Cup history. He saddled record winner number 21 in the juvenile turf. Here's what Aidan had to say about now sitting atop that list.
So I'm just so delighted. Obviously, everyone knows that we're in just this unbelievably privileged position to be working for the lads. They put so much in since we have come to Ballydial, all the way breeding, buying, employing everybody, putting the pedigrees together, and letting the horses and asking them and wanting them to come here for everyone to see them race. We feel so privileged, obviously working for such special people, with such special people. And today, what could I say, incredible. Christoph has given a beautiful ride. So delighted, and so delighted for the lads, really. And they're the ones that make it happen day in, day out. And like I say, we feel very privileged to be in the position that we are.
Humble Aidan O'Brien, as always, he has been for all of these years at the Breeders' Cup, and now number one on that list of trainers saddling winners at the Breeders' Cup World Championships. Congratulations to him and to his team that you just heard him talk about in that soundbite. Okay, time for our impossible trivia question. Lee Delapina has it for you on this Breeders' Cup Saturday morning. Lee, what do you got?
Thank you, Mike. How much money did Graham Stone and Will Dixon earn on their winning Pick 6 ticket for the 2003 Breeders' Cup? Give me the exact amount. No Googling. I'll give out the answer at the end of the show.
All right, 10:55 Eastern, when that answer comes your way. Lots of things to get to. We're going to talk about so many different angles with the Breeders' Cup, but when I come back, you're going to hear from Boyd Browning of Fasig-Tipton. He'll tell you about some of the Breeders' Cup contenders set to make their way to Lexington, Kentucky to go under the gavel at the Fasig-Tipton Night of Stars sale on Monday. Stay tuned for that as we begin Breeders' Cup Saturday morning here on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Send your mare to Maryland. After she foals here, breed to one of our stallions, and your 2025 foal is eligible to be a registered Maryland bred, giving you the opportunity to earn significant bonuses. And beginning with 2-year-olds of 2025, Maryland bred and Maryland sired horses will earn 40% higher breeder bonuses than out-of-state sired runners. Maryland, a foundation of greatness, a bright future ahead. Learn more at MarylandThoroughbred.com.
It's time now to shine the spotlight on the Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week.
Down to the wire. Cody's Wish wins it. Cody's Wish. I think he won it by a nose on the wire.
That's Horse of the Year and Darley Stallion Cody's Wish with back-to-back wins in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, and he did it with heart and with class. Those victories make Cody's Wish your Darley Taking the Reins Performer of the Week. Darley Stallion Cody's Wish. The Horse of the Year is Curlin's only 5-time Grade 1 winning son, with more Grade 1 wins at a mile than any other colt ever. 2 of these were his back-to-back victories in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. First weanlings by Cody's Wish are selling next week at Fasig-Tipton and Keeneland. Learn about Cody's Wish and all the Darley Stallions by visiting DarleyAmerica.com.
This is Lady Eli Week, presented by Keeneland Sales and powered by the KTDF.
Keeneland November is where futures take root and legacies pass from one hand to the next. In the ring, excitement builds. A glance, a nod, a bid. History changes in an instant, and the impact lasts a lifetime. The market is here. The global stage is here. Your moment is here. Keeneland November.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Darth Vader, a threatening presence in second, Tarifa third, then randomized. Raging Sea, being motivated from last, starts to uncork her rally with a lot of ground to make up at the top of the stretch. Dazzling move. Darth Vader becoming more and more scary right up alongside, and Raging Sea is 8 lengths back in third. Darth Vader emerges with the lead in mid-stretch and opens up under John Velasquez. It will be Darth Vader to win the Ogden Phipps presented by Ford. Dazzling Move held second. Raging Sea finished third.
Frank Mariamati with the call. That was the Grade 1 Ogden Phipps, won by Dorth Vader, who is going in the Breeders' Cup Distaff on Saturday afternoon, but also heading to Fasig-Tipton for the Night of Star Sales is hip number 209. Just part of what is going to be an incredible, magical evening in Lexington, Kentucky. Boyd Browning from Fasig-Tipton joins me now. He's with me every single Breeders' Cup morning on this same show, and it's always such a delight. Boyd, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. It's always a pleasure. It's always an exciting time of the year. Unbelievable racing coming up, and unbelievable sale hopefully coming up on Monday night. So it's Super Bowl Monday is what I refer to it as internally, and we're very excited about the catalog this year.
You should be. Outside of Dorth, well, let's start with Dorth Vader. Grade 1 winner, so brilliant when she's on her A game, which is more often than not. But when you start talking to connections about bringing their horses to sell at Fasig-Tipton, what are some of the things that you're looking for? Obviously, the Grade 1 helps a lot.
The Grade 1 helps tremendously. I mean, and there's such a premium given by the buyers for horses that have achieved Grade 1 success. But it's a complete package. It's the Grade 1, or great racing ability, pedigree, and conformation. I mean, those are the three keys. And more often than not, when they have that great racing ability, the conformation generally matches up. And the pedigrees can vary because we've seen a wide variety of horses be successful on the racetrack. Some of which have collector-type pedigrees, and others which kind of make their own pedigrees. So. We basically just try to recruit the best horses from the owners that we think would be interested in selling those horses.
The Distaff's a pretty big race for the Fasig-Tipton team. Dorth Vader, Cliquot, and Seismic Beauty all getting set to head to Lexington for Monday night. That's pretty special.
Did you mention Seismic Beauty also?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. You kind of cut out on me for a second. That's a great race. At times you don't know really exactly who to root for, and you want them all to run well. Sometimes when they run well, because they might end up, the owners might decide to keep them, so you want them all to. At the end of the day, all of us are huge racing fans, and we want the horses to have a fair chance to have a fairly run race and to come out of the race sound, and the results will kind of take care of themselves.
That's a really interesting point, Boyd. You want them all to run well, but if they run too well, the owners might keep them and not send them to the sale. I never thought of it like that, but you're right.
Oh, yeah. There'll be varied emotions. And, heck, us, we're always hustling, too. If somebody runs big this weekend, we always can do a supplement and get them added to the catalog. So it's a action-packed weekend, but it's fun, and it's we're very lucky to be able to do what we do for a living because it's a labor of love.
It's interesting because I did mention Cliquot, I did mention Seismic Beauty, but I did overlook Gunsong, hip number 101, who is in the Distaff too. So four horses in the Distaff that are coming to the sale.
Hey, and maybe we can add another one along the way, but yeah. And four, I mean, if you're making it to the Breeders' Cup, if you're running in the Breeders' Cup, you've already won because, I mean, this is the best of the best. And to be able to qualify and to be able to compete at this level is a tremendous accomplishment. It's a tribute to the ability of those horses, the trainers, the connections, the owners to be in that spot. So it's a great weekend.
Boyd, the November sale is known as the world's premier breeding stock event. When you're talking to people at the Breeders' Cup, horsemen who may come there to purchase horses, what are some of the things you want them to know about this sale in particular?
If you want the best, you got to come shop at Fasig-Tipton on Monday night. And if you want quality, it's the only place to be. It's the year in, year out. It's the finest offering of high quality fillies and mares and foal. Also some really outstanding foals. And if you're competing in the Breeders' Cup, if you're here, you've obviously got an affinity and have a horse that's demonstrated the ability to compete at these high levels. And if you want to continue that, you got to come shop at Fasig-Tipton on Monday night.
What are some of the other highlights that buyers should look forward to when they show up at Fasig-Tipton on Monday night?
you're going to get me in trouble here, Mike, because there's so many that I could spend the next.
Yeah.
I could spend 3 hours talking about the catalog. Obviously, Puka is a headliner. I don't recall ever having the opportunity to sell a mare like her that's produced, 3 Grade 1 winners consecutive years. And she's still young enough that she should have a great deal of attraction and attention from buyers around the world. You got a mare, a filly like Just FYI, who's only 4 years old, was a champion 2-year-old, and is enfolded into Mischief, a horse named Into Mischief. We've got multiple Grade 1 winners coming off the racetrack. We've got multiple horses involved in the top stallions in the world. Gun Runner, Into Mischief, Not This Time, Nyquist. I really can't do it justice about singling out, too many at or below the level of like Puka and Just FYI. And who knows what's going to happen this weekend. Some other horses could go up there and get, at or above those price ranges.
Boyd Browning joining me here on the Horse Racing Radio Network, the Equine Forum presented by TwinSpires. Boyd, the president, CEO of Fasig-Tipton, and again, that November sale coming up on Monday night, the Night of Stars sale. Boyd, how about the season that you've had at Fasig-Tipton? It has been remarkable, starting, I guess, with the July sale when we're talking about yearlings, and then going to Saratoga, and you just wrapped it up with the big October sale. Talk to me about this year. It's been really good.
A little bit. Yeah, we've seen an extremely healthy marketplace throughout 2025. I think it's a combination of factors. The stock market's at record highs. There's a lot of wealth in the United States and really around the world. So that's a key factor. The tax incentives have obviously been a major positive influence on the marketplace. I think there's a lot of interest and enthusiasm for racing in several of our key jurisdictions in New York, Kentucky, Oklahoma, and so forth. So there's a lot of enthusiasm. So it's been a great year so far, and we look forward to those trends continuing on Monday night.
Well, we will encourage folks to go to Fasig-Tipton.com to see the entire November catalog. And then, of course, you've got the digital sale coming up in December. Boyd, I know that's something you're very proud of, the success of the digital platform. That continues to grow. All that information is on the Fasig-Tipton website. Man, enjoy the Breeders' Cup, my friend. I know it's going to be spectacular for you. And I know November Monday night, that's what I'm trying to say. Monday night is going to be fantastic, too.
Well, thank you, Mike. As I said, it's a great time of the year, and we're very, very, very excited and looking forward to, a great next week in the thoroughbred industry.
Boyd Browning. Boyd, enjoy the Breeders' Cup. Safe travels home.
Thank you, Mike. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Boyd Browning here on HRRN. Again, that November sale coming up Monday in Lexington, and Fasig-Tipton.com is the place to go to learn more. Speaking of the November sale, one of the consigners that is going to be well represented there is going to be Millridge. They are every single time that they show up at a sale, but certainly in November. AG Bullet, one of the horses who is going in the Turf Sprint, taking on the boys, is part of their consignment in November. And Millridge, recognized for many, many years with raising and selling exceptional athletes. But just in Saratoga this past year, Test Score won the Grade 1 Belmont Derby, and this weekend the Grade 2 Twilight Derby at Del Mar. And World Beater won the Grade 1 Saratoga Derby to become the 40th and 41st Grade 1 winners raised or sold since 2000. And 37 of those raised on the farm at Millridge. Make sure you check out their consignment when you get to that November sale. When I come back, Tim Wilkin joins me from Del Mar. We're going to talk about some of the storylines he's been covering throughout the week, including Hall of Famer Bob Baffert and Bill Mott. That's next after your Legends of the Turf and this short commercial break.
In early October of 1920, amidst full pastel resplendence of early fall, some 30,000 racing fans gathered at Kenilworth Park in suburban Toronto, Canada, in eager anticipation of the much ballyhooed match race between Sam Riddle's Titan of the Turf Man of War and the 1919 Triple Crown winner, the first ever, by the way, Sir Barton. Man of War was regarded as virtually invincible in many racing quarters and was an overwhelming favorite amongst those in attendance to defeat Colonel Ross's superb 4-year-old. The distance was 1 1/4 miles, the purse $75,000 plus a $5,000 gold cup. There had been a modicum of controversy generated among racing fans when Earl Sandy, the regular pilot aboard Sir Barton, was replaced for this particular race by Jack Keogh. Commander Ross, the horse's owner, felt Sandy was not riding in top form at that time. The rider aboard the immortal Big Red was his customary reinsman, Clarence Cummer. As a matter of fact, Colonel Ross had first call on Cummer's services, but he deferred to Cummer's wishes in allowing him to ride Riddle's horse. Colonel Ross said, quote, "My action is taken without any prejudice to Sandy, and I am only exercising my right as owner of Sir Barton." The two horses answered the call to post and paraded before the stands looking absolutely fit on their way to the gate. Man o' War looked about nonchalantly as though this were an ordinary occurrence. Henry Morrissey was the starter, and he waited until both champions were perfectly ready. Then he sent them on their way as the webbing flew up, and to the huge roar of the vast throng, the race that was billed as, quote, the race of the century was indeed underway. Sir Barton was well away, and he took the lead for the first 16th, but that was all. Man o' War was quickly given his head by Cummer, and he shot by Sir Barton to establish a clear lead as he went the first quarter in a rapid 22-3. It was Man o' War by 2 open lengths and still somewhat in reserve by Cummer as they hit the hop in 46-2, 3 quarters in 111-2. Keogh rapped Sir Barton a couple of times with his stick, but could get no more out of him as Man o' War coasted into and on around the turn, coasting while galloping freely with those long, smooth strides for which he had been well noted. By the time they hit the top of the stretch, Man o' War had opened up to a 3-length advantage after clocking a mile in 137-4. Cummer glanced back at his rival, who was struggling valiantly while fully extended but not closing a single inch of ground. Man o' War was just breezing along in synchronized motion and continued to increase his margin, cruising to the wire a winner in smashing fashion by an open 7 lengths. The final time was 2:03 flat, and Cummer later said, quote, "It was about as easy a score as Man o' War had ever chalked up. It was the lope for the last quarter. Had he wanted to, he could easily have gone a couple of seconds faster. It was far faster than I expected, and I knew Sir Barton had no business with Man o' War after we had gone the first quarter," end of quote. But Sam Riddle was his customary modest self after the winning effort of his stalwart, and Commander Ross, the losing owner, was among the very first to offer his congratulations. It all happened on a resplendent fall day in a beautiful setting at Kenilworth Park in suburban Toronto, Canada, October of 1920. A truly great moment in thoroughbred racing.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
A reputation of excellence isn't built overnight. Day by day, year by year, decade after decade. For over 100 years, Claiborne's commitment to quality has led to unrivaled success. 10 Kentucky Derby winners, 6 Triple Crown winners, 17 Horses of the Year, 23 Hall of Famers, and over 300 champions. Building on the past, building for the future. Claiborne Farm. The tradition continues.
The world's premier breeding stock event, the November sale at Fasig-Tipton. A night of stars featuring over 70 graded stakes winners or producers, and no less than 30 Grade 1 winners or producers. Champions, millionaires, elite producers, and selected weanlings. One catalog, one spectacular session, one star-studded evening with the highest concentration of quality breeding stock anywhere in the world. The Fasig-Tipton November sale, November 3rd in Lexington, Kentucky. Where will you be?
Top consignor Scott Mallory is offering an exciting November lineup, starting at Fasig-Tipton with weanlings by Forte and Gunite, both out of multiple stakes-producing female families. At Keeneland, the Scott Mallory consignment features exciting weanlings by Yopon, Jackie's Warrior, Loggins, Zandon, and Taba, as well as mares in foal to first-year sires Seize the Gray, Muth, Kingsbarns, Blazing Sevens, and domestic product, and established sires McLean's Music, Violence, and Authentic. There's something for every buyer at the Scott Mallory November consignments.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
And the Derby winner is stuck in behind a wall of horses. Fifth off the turn. At the top of the stretch, Disarm powers up to grab the lead. Vanishing, trying to hang tough. Mystic Dan in so tight. Bounced around, but still trying. Hit Show coming down the center. Disarm in front. Mystic Dan shakes loose. Here comes Mystic Dan. Once again up the rail. And once again a winner at Churchill. Mystic Dan overcomes some trouble in the stretch to beat Disarm on the wire. Vanishing third and Hit Show fourth.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Travis Stone with the call of the Lucas Classic, won by the Derby winner, Mystic Dan. We expected to have a couple of Derby winners racing on this Saturday afternoon at the Breeders' Cup, but Mystic Dan will handle that baton, and he's going to go in what is shaping up to be an incredibly competitive and deep Breeders' Cup dirt mile. Sovereignty, the Derby winner from this year, expected to be the favorite in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Talked about it at the top of the show. He spiked a fever. His trainer, Bill Mott, spoke with the media on Wednesday morning, declaring Sovereignty out of the Breeders' Cup Classic, which changes the complexion of that race significantly. We'll get into that later in the show during I Ask, They Answer. But right now, Tim Wilkin joins me. He's been in Del Mar all week working with the Breeders' Cup Notes team, and he's covering Bill Mott and Ken McPeak, who trains Mystic Dan. He's also covering Bob Baffert, so we're going to talk to him about all three of those. But, Timmy, the big news coming out Wednesday morning with the scratch of Sovereignty, and it is huge.
Well, it's, it certainly put a dark cloud over the Classic, which was, how many people were saying it might be the best Breeders' Cup Classic of all time, rivaling that of the one in '98, having Sovereignty, who was a legitimate 6-5 favorite, and there's a who's who of competitors racing in this with the Todd Pletcher trio, and journalism, and the Sierra Leone defending champion Farber Young from Japan. But Sovereignty, a lot of people thought him being a generational talent was the horse to beat, and I agreed with him. And I've been dealing with Bill actually going back to Saratoga after the meet ended. I'd go up there and watch Sovereignty work out during the fall, knowing that I was going to have Bill as one of my, quote unquote clients out here for the Breeders' Cup. And, the fact that this news broke yesterday, Tuesday, when the horse spiked the fever, and they were holding out some hope that, he was treated with some anti-inflammatories, and that brought the fever down. But, of course, an anti-inflammatory is only going to mask that. And if Bill had said if the horse respikes, that was going to be it, he would not run. He said that on Tuesday, and he was very upfront with the media about it. He had a press conference at his barn at 9 a.m., our time out here. And then he met with media at 11 o'clock our time out here and spoke about it again. And on Wednesday morning, the news came out that, the horse had respiked. And Bill had said if that happened, there's no choice. They were not going to run, and he's not going to run. And he's doing what's right by the horse. He's been very transparent about it, and, he's not trying to hide anything about it. He just said that, of course he feels bad about it. He said he told me this Wednesday morning that he feels bad for the horse fans that wanted to see this horse run. But they have to do what's right by him. So Sovereignty, and he was still eating everything that's put in front of him, but he also, he looks like he's sick. He's laying down in his stall, and that's something that he doesn't do a lot, Bill has said. But he was, he's like someone that's got to get sick, and he's, and who knows how long, like Bill said, that this could wipe him out for a little long time, an extended period of time. He's hoping to get him on a plane next week and send him to Kentucky, and the decision will be made from there, whether he goes on to Florida or if he gets to retired. That has not been, the Godolphin people have not made that clear yet. I mean, I always thought that he was going to run as a 4-year-old, and the goal would be to run in Dubai. and that's a goal for Godolphin. But we'll just have to wait and see. But to deal with Bill this week, he's been nothing but a class act as far as everything that's dealt with sovereignty. And because I have a pretty good relationship with him, and I was able to talk to him really whenever I needed to. And he's been a champ with the media, and he should get a lot of kudos for that.
Timmy, when you and Dale join me at the end of the program, 10:30 Eastern, for I Ask the Answer, we'll discuss how that defection of Sovereignty, the morning line favorite in the Classic, changes the complexion of that race, if at all. We'll discuss that coming up later in the show. Bill Mott still has one other horse running in the Breeders' Cup later today, and that's Scylla in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. I know your focus when you've talked with him has been on Sovereignty. Have you gotten much time to talk to him about Scylla?
Oh, I've talked about him about Scylla every day I'm out there, because with the Breeders' Cup Notes team, the job is to deal with all the horses that a particular trainer might have. So yeah, I have to. It's a little easier when you make the stop at the Mott Barn, because he only has the 2 horses. Like for instance, I've also dealt with Bob Baffer, who we'll talk about. He has 13, so it's a lot more. It's a lot more complicated with him. But no, Bill's really, really high on Scylla. I mean, really high on Scylla. Scylla's been, been the bridesmaid so many times, and runs really well, running some sprint races in the spring and the summer, now stretching out. Bill really likes her chances, and she hit a workout the other day in 46, which raised some eyebrows, talking about maybe how I'm a little bit too fast. But he says that's her. That's something that she does. So when a Hall of Fame trainer like Bill Mott says something like that, you kind of take it to the bank. He thinks she couldn't be doing any better, and she very well could outrun her 15-1 morning line odds.
Trainer Ken McPeak always seems to like the chances of any horse that he puts a saddle on. Certainly the Derby winner, Mystic Dan. Again, the lone Derby winner racing on the program this afternoon. He goes in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile after winning that Lucas Classic, and the call that we heard as we were beginning the interview. Talk to me about Ken McPeak and the mood around the McPeak barn coming into this race.
He's got 2 horses out. He's got Mystic Time and Blackout Time. And it was running in Mystic Dan, and Blackout Time was running in the Juvenile. He's always been high on Mystic Dan. Mystic Dan's kind of had a weird little journey this year. After running a ho-hum 4th in the Stephen Foster, he decided to run him on the turf in the Arlington Million, and didn't disgrace himself there. And then he goes back and wins the Lucas Classic. Now he's here in the Breeders' Cup Mile. And, Kenny thinks he liked the 2-turn mile. So, Kenny is a very optimistic guy. He could sell snow to Eskimos. He's a guy that all of his horses, he always looks at the cup half full rather than half empty. And Mystic Dan looks great. I mean, he does look great. There was always that stigma of Derby. A lot of Derby horses don't win races after they win the Kentucky Derby. But, since Mystic Dan won his Derby, he's won a couple of races. He also won the Blame. He's also had a lot of races where he didn't run so good. I think he might be worth a puncher's chance in this race. I mean, there's some serious racehorses in here. Maybe the most serious being Nysos from Bob Baffert, who, before. Earlier this year, he was considered maybe one of the best older horses in the country after his abbreviated 3-year-old season. So, Nysos is going to be a handful. I mean, you got full Serranos in here. Citizen Bull was on the Juvenile last year. Chancer McPatrick, I believe, and there's a lot of horses in here that make this a very competitive race, and Mystic Dan is certainly in that equation.
I'm glad you bring up Nysos and Hall of Famer Bob Baffert. Bob's running 9 horses on the Saturday card this afternoon, Timmy. And you mentioned covering Bob Baffert and the complexities involved when you're covering somebody for the Notes team that has so many horses and so many different races. 3 of those horses are in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. Nysos, goal-oriented, and Citizen Bull. You just touched on 2 of those. Goal-oriented, his other one. But he also has Nevada Beach in the Classic. He has Seismic Beauty in the Distaff, Imagination in the Sprint, and then Hope Road, Ricci, and Splendora all running in the Filly and Mare Sprint. Tell me about being around Bob Baffert this week.
I think he's getting sick and tired of seeing me, to tell you the truth, because, I mean, he doesn't have the media gaggle, whatever the word we use is, that he might normally have if he had, like, the likes of an Arrogate or an American Pharoah running in the Classic. But, he does have a bunch of pretty nice horses in here. I mean, you look at Nevada Beach, he's 20-1 in the morning line. You would think he might be an immediate toss, but probably not, because it is Baffert, and no one has won more Breeders' Cup Classics than him. But Nevada Beach, he won the Goodwood in somewhat of a surprise when he was 8-1, and that was a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup. And Bob has told me, he said if he hadn't won the Goodwood, he probably wouldn't be in the race, even though because he's got all his expenses paid here, and it's a short ship from Santa Anita, and Nevada Beach has won 3 of his 4 starts. I mean, the Goodwood was the first graded stakes he's been in, and that was the first time that Mike Smith, who will ride on in the Classic, was aboard. And Bob made it a point to let me know that he was the one that to remind me that he was the one that gave Mike Smith the nickname Big Money Mike. And he just said he's hoping that he can bring some of the magic back again this time around. But, you would think he'd be up against it, because there's a lot more, a whole bunch more established horses in this race.
Timmy, when Jude and I used to host this program together and we would talk to trainers, we would always talk about reading between the lines. When you would ask a trainer about a certain horse or a certain race, at times their tone would change. They would perk up just a little bit more, and more often than not, it meant that they really liked that horse. With 9 horses racing on this Saturday card for Bob Baffert, did he give you any indication as to which horse or 2 he may be most excited about this afternoon?
Well, he would never be one to tout one over the other, but I definitely feel there's more excitement in his voice when he talks about Nysos. He wishes Nysos was in the Classic, but Nysos missed a race and he didn't feel that it was fair to him to send him into the Classic. But he uses the word superstar around Nysos. He talks about how I said, well, how did he become this way? He said he was born this way. He was born talented. He's a horse that, he could be a generational star. And, he's favored in the Dirt Mile for a reason. I think that he's definitely the horse to beat. He's won 5 of 6 career starts, and the one race he got beat in by Mind Frame in that Grade 1 Churchill Downs race on Derby Day this year was his first start since a year ago, February, when he was in the Santa Anita Derby. I mean, he's always been a talent, and if he's right, I don't think there's anyone in the mile field dirt mile field that can beat him.
Timmy, before I let you go, you have also had the privilege to cover young Will Walden, who has really had a banner year this season. He's going to be represented in the Breeders' Cup Mile, the Turf Mile, which is race number 10 by Rhetorical. What sense, obviously his father, Elliot Walden, highly accomplished. He's won so many races, and now the man running Windstar Farm. He's been doing that for a long time. But what was the takeaway you got from spending some time from Will Walden this week?
Well, he's over the moon. The fact that he's these are the first horse. He had a horse Friday, also, but these are the first horses he's saddled, and Will has such a fascinating, intriguing, and nearly tragic backstory of, because he had substance abuse problems and came out on the right side of it, and now he's playing at the highest level. Rhetorical's a New York bred who's won all 4 of his starts this year, including the turf mile at Keeneland in his last at nearly 10-1. He deserves to be here. He's he's in the deep end of the pool going up against the Charlie Appleby's and Aidan O'Brien's of the world. But I don't think he's without, and Johans from Tinniac team, but I don't think he's not without a chance. That there's a wise old handicapper that I once used to work with named Matt Graves who said, never discount a horse that's undefeated. And he's undefeated in 4 starts this year, 5 for 6 for his career, but he's undefeated this year. And let's see what he can do. I mean, of course, I'd love to see all the guys that I have been dealing with this week all be winners, which doesn't normally happen. But it's a good story, and the fact that Will Walden, Riley Mott, who ran a horse Argos Friday, Miguel Clement, the son of the late Christophe Clement, who has a bunch of horses here. They're all in the same barn. I mean, and Bill Mott too, is the den father, if you will. And these kids, Will and Miguel and Riley, all were friends growing up. So it's kind of cool that they're all here and having their first Breeders' Cup horses that they're all saddling. I mean, Miguel, a long-time assistant to his dad, but these are horses that this is the first Breeders' Cup he's had horses saddled in his own name. So it's a pretty cool barn dynamic, but which was probably this whole week, even though it took a damper when Sovereignty got ruled out.
Timmy, it's also pretty cool knowing that we're not done with you yet. You'll be back with me at the end of the show, 10:30 Eastern, for I Ask, They Answer, along with your sidekick, Dale Romans. Really appreciate the visit here. Great information. Enjoy the Breeders' Cup, my friend. Enjoy every minute of it.
Will do, Mike. It's always a pleasure speaking with you.
You got it. And, of course, don't forget that if you're planning any party, if you haven't done so for your Breeders' Cup party, shame on you if you missed this opportunity. But if you're planning a corporate event, a holiday party, whatever the case might be, or even a private party at your own home, don't forget you can now add Derby and Dance Party video horse racing to that event. And it is so cool. It will take your party to the next level, whether you are hosting that personal party or doing something for your clients or for your friends or for your employees. Make sure you check out Derby and Dance Party video horse racing. Horse racing knowledge is not required, and no party is too large or too small. I've been telling you about this for about a month now, and you won't want to miss it. Go to DerbyDanceParty.com. That's DerbyDanceParty.com. You can check out the videos for yourself right there on their website. And if you think it looks cool, like I do, give them a call, 844-MY-PHILLY, 844-MY-PHILLY, to learn more and to book your Derby and Dance Party video horse racing event. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. It's a really, really cool thing, and they take care of all the prep work for you. DerbyDanceParty.com. When I come back, I'll tell you what's coming up in hour number 2, including a visit with Mike Kane, another member of the Breeders' Cup Notes team. He's been covering Todd Pletcher, Michael McCarthy, and so many others. We'll talk to him next. This is the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
Woodford Feed, where tradition merges with technology. Family owned since 1940 and providing exceptional customer service, Woodford Feed specializes in the highest quality feed, using only the finest ingredients to ensure optimal nutrition for your horses. In addition, Woodford Feed can help with all your farm needs, including field seed, fertilizer, and weed control. So whether your horse is sprinting around the racetrack or has a foal by her side, count on Woodford Feed to provide the quality nutrition necessary to perform at the highest level. Woodford Feed, Versailles, Kentucky.
Did you know? VA home loans are a key to home ownership for those who served.
I would tell anybody who is interested in getting a VA loan to just do it.
For me, the best thing about the VA loan was the simplicity of it. I was expecting, government paperwork. It was going to go on forever, and it just wasn't.
Since the down payment for a VA loan is minimal, we were able to purchase this home and then use the money that we were going to use as a down to actually fix up the home.
And the only way we could do that was because the nest egg that we had saved for the down payment, we didn't have to use because we went the VA route.
This is a wonderful benefit that veterans can take advantage of.
In the military, we make a lot of sacrifices. We're away from our family a lot. And with the VA loan, it's a way that it makes it easier for us to get a home.
To learn more about VA home loans, visit va.gov/home loans.
We have the world at our fingertips, inspiration in our touch, and power in our hands. Our hands, gentle enough to hold the next generation, yet strong enough to build movements that can change the world. Our hands can build relationships, frame ideas, and empower communities. We have the ability to share and imagine, create and comfort, love and heal the world around us. And it doesn't stop there. Right here, in our hands, we have the power to save a life. If you see a teen or adult suddenly collapse, call 911 and push hard and fast in the center of the chest.
The power is in your hands.
Anthem Foundation is the proud national supporter of the American Heart Association's Hands Only CPR campaign.
You're listening to Lady Eli Week, presented by Keeneland Sales and powered by the KTDF.
Keeneland November is where futures take root and legacies pass from one hand to the next. In the ring, excitement builds. A glance, a nod, a bid. History changes in an instant, and the impact lasts a lifetime. The market is here. The global stage is here. Your moment is here. Keeneland November.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Warlike Goddess going to dive to the inside. Rebels Romance has the lead. Warlike Goddess to the inside in second. Rebels Romance on top by 2. Rebels Romance, James Doyle win the Breeders' Cup Turf Stone Age second. Warlike Goddess across the line in third. 2 minutes, 26.35 seconds. That's the course record.
And on the far outside, Rousham Park from behind, but Rebels Romance has built a big lead here. Rousham Park is cutting into it. Rebels Romance by 2. Rousham Park coming. Rebels Romance, Rousham Park. Rebels Romance, a Breeders' Cup winner again.
Rebels Romance, how good is he? We're going to see him in action later today in the Breeders' Cup Turf, looking to become the first 3-time winner of that event. You're going to hear more about the Breeders' Cup coming up in hour number 2. Welcome back to the show. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, with you on this Breeders' Cup Saturday, edging ever closer to the first Breeders' Cup race on this Saturday afternoon. 9 more championship races coming up, beginning 3 o'clock Eastern with the Filly and Mare Sprint. But really looking forward to seeing Rebels Romance do his thing. And that's the question I'm throwing out there to you this morning. Who is your best bet on this Breeders' Cup Saturday? I think most of the race is pretty wide open, but maybe Rebels Romance, the horse you could key on and say, okay, he stands out in this group if he runs the race we expect him to run. Can certainly see him making history later today and winning that third Breeders' Cup Turf. Won it in 2022, won it in 2024. You just heard those calls. We'll see. But you can let me know your thoughts on that. What is your best bet on this Breeders' Cup Saturday? You can go to @HRRN on X, Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook, or you can email the show if you don't do social media, mike@horseracingradio.net. This is Lady Eli Week. We've been celebrating Lady Eli Week all week long, presented by Keeneland Sales. You're going to hear from Sol Kumin coming up in hour number 2. Sol, the owner of Lady Eli. What a road it was. Matter of fact, the first horse he ever got involved with as an owner turns out to be champion Lady Eli. You talk about starting at the top, right? So Sol comes up. That's an entertaining interview right around 9:20. Mike Kane going to kick us off in a moment with hour number 2. You'll hear from him talking about Todd Pletcher and a couple of the other connections that he has been covering throughout the week. And then coming up at 9:40, Price Bell Jr. from Millridge will be here to look ahead to their consignment, which includes a very special filly who is running later today. You'll see her in action, AG Bullet. She's super talented. She'll be sold by Millridge coming up at Fasig-Tipton November. Speaking of Fasig-Tipton November, you heard from Boyd Browning in the first segment of the program here this morning. Fasig-Tipton November is loaded on Monday. The sale starts 4 o'clock Eastern here in Lexington. You have Puka. She's the star of the show. Boyd talked about her. Hip number 135. She is the dam of Baeza, who goes in the Breeders' Cup Classic. Maybe a bit of a wise guy pick in that race this afternoon. Wouldn't be a shocker to see Baeza standing in the winner's circle. You also have Clico from the Breeders' Cup Distaff, Dorth Vader, Gunsong, Seismic Beauty. Those horses all pointing for Fasig-Tipton November. They will be sold. Half-sister to Rhetorical, who goes in the Breeders' Cup Mile for Will Walden. Sterling Silver, hip number 157. I mentioned AG Bullet from the consignment of Millridge. And how about, you heard John Velasquez, Todd Pletcher at the top of the show talking about Ted Noffey and his win in yesterday's Breeders' Cup Juvenile. You have the dam of Ted Noffey, Streak of Luck, being offered as hip number 220. The half-sister to Nisos being offered. The half-sister to Mystic Dan being offered at Fasig-Tipton November. They are absolutely loaded, as you might expect. That is one of the premier, if not the premier, breeding stock sale that you're going to find anywhere in the world. So make sure you're there Monday, November 3rd, this coming Monday, 4 p.m. Eastern, Lexington, Kentucky. As they say at Fasig-Tipton, where will you be? The only place you should be is right there looking for your next superstar. And while you're at Fasig, or if you're going to be at Keeneland after the Fasig sale, if you haven't done so yet, make your reservations. They are filling up fast, I promise you. Tony's of Lexington. I've been talking about them for quite some time here on the show, and they are fantastic. I'm telling you, it is going to be, I promise you this, the best steak you have ever had at any restaurant anywhere. We've done a lot of traveling here on HRRN, and I'm a steak and potatoes guy. And no other restaurant has topped Tony's of Lexington. The atmosphere is fantastic. The food is incredible. My favorite, the Sir Barton. It's an unbelievable New York strip, but the fillets are great. My wife loves the fillets. Actually had a tomahawk there the other night. Whew, man, so good. Tony's of Lexington. They're on Main Street right behind Rupp Arena. Make sure you get your reservations now and don't miss out on a great meal. You tell them the Baron sent you in and told you to say hello. All right, coming back with hour number 2, Mike Kane kicks us off with a look at more contenders coming up on this Breeders' Cup Saturday. That's right after this 10-second pause for station identification. This is the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of the Equine Forum on this Breeders' Cup Saturday morning. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch. Happy to have you with me on this show, presented every week by our friends at TwinSpires. If you missed any portion of the first hour of the program, boy, did you miss a lot. That conversation with Tim Wilkin about the middle of that hour, and then Boyd Browning of Fasig-Tipton talking about the November sale and the connections that they're going to have at this year's Breeders' Cup. If you missed any portion of that program or that hour, don't worry about it. Head back to our website, horseracingradio.net. You can listen to the podcast whenever you have some time, and you can do that too on every single podcast platform. Well, hour 2 is loaded with more content, talking about the Breeders' Cup, as you might expect. You're going to hear from Mike Kane joining me in just a minute. Mike, like Tim Wilkin, a member of the Breeders' Cup Notes team, and he's been covering Todd Pletcher and Michael McCarthy, Tim Yachtine. We'll talk about some of their connections to the Breeders' Cup. I'll go down the road to the Breeders' Cup with owner Sol Kumin, who is well represented this year, but also owned Lady Eli, winner of the 2014 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. We are celebrating Lady Eli Week, presented by Keeneland Sales, all week long here on the network, so that should be fun at 9:20. And at 9:40, Price Bell of Millridge will join me to talk about their Breeders' Cup horses and look ahead to their consignments coming up at Fasig-Tipton November and Keeneland November. But without further ado, we say hello to my friend Mike Kane. Mike, happy Breeders' Cup.
Thank you very much. Happy Breeders' Cup to you and all your listeners today.
Yeah, excited to talk with you because of the fact that, Timmy talked about Bob Baffert and Bill Mott, and he had the breaking news, of course, with Sovereignty coming out, which is the massive storyline of this year's Breeders' Cup. You had the privilege of covering Todd Pletcher throughout the week, and he has 3 horses in the Classic later today with Antiquarian, Fierceness, and Mindframe. Talk to me about being around that Pletcher barn throughout the week.
Well, Todd Pletcher is such a pro. Everything's organized in his barn. His staff is just on top of everything. There's kind of nothing left to chance. I've dealt with Todd since he showed up to work as a young guy just out of college working for D-Wayne Lucas. So our history is pretty deep. I've always appreciated the fact that he understands what he needs to do as far as dealing with media and dealing with PR and all that, because it's all part of his business and the game. So I love being around him because you ask him a question, you go in, organize, and ask questions, you get answers, and you're on your way. So it's really fun to work with him.
Now, those 3 horses, Antiquarian probably the lesser regarded of the 3. Fierceness, fantastic. Mindframe looking to rebound. Earlier this season, a lot of people thought he was the best older horse in the country. Now he gets a chance to prove it. Without Sovereignty in there, that certainly opens the door for one of those 2.
Well, no doubt. Now he's got, what does he got now? 33% of the field instead of 30%. I wrote a story the other day that said he lost a quarter of his Army going into the Breeders' Cup, and he still was going to saddle 30% of the field. But now with Sovereignty out, it's even higher. And let's face it, it's actually three of 8, because I don't think the Rabbit figures to be a contender when they're in the stretch. So yeah, and these horses have all kind of come from different directions. I'll just say Fierceness is. We probably call him the standout of the group just because he's been good for so long and so consistent, and has run well twice here at Del Mar. So yes, did he? He's just a proven horse who's kind of overcome that. I think that negativity from his poor performance in the Kentucky Derby, and as now a Grade 1 winner is at 2 and 3 and 4, and you kind of expect a big performance from him. If he can get out of the one hole and not head to the fence, we should be all set.
Mike, you mentioned the Rabbit. Contrary thinking entered for Chad Brown, obviously looking to keep Fierceness company on the front end. He's 50-1 on the morning line, so not likely to be a factor in the stretch, as you said, but he could be a factor early. Did Todd Pletcher express any concern about that horse being in there?
Well, he certainly noted that, and he said he felt that cost Fierceness in the Whitney, that he got buzzed on the first turn, and that he also got him. He was a little crowded in the second turn. So, yeah, I think they're going to be much more conscious to have Velasquez being aware of this horse and trying not to let him dictate what happens to Fierceness. So, yes, is he concerned about it? Well, Todd never shows a lot of. There's no emotion really there, but he certainly brought up the subject and is certainly aware that horse is in there. It could have an impact on Fierceness.
One horse who maybe could benefit from a Rabbit situation is the Michael McCarthy trained Journalism in that classic. Regarded as the second best 3-year-old in the country this year behind Sovereignty. He'll get a chance to prove he belongs in the conversation as the best 3-year-old if he can pull it off. Talk to me about Journalism and what you heard from Michael McCarthy throughout the week.
They're very excited about this horse. They feel like they made the right decision to let him stay home and not make another cross-country trip. Just stay home, face older horses in the Pacific Classic, and then over this course, and then give him the 2 months essentially in between that race and this race. And so they're liking what they're seeing. They feel like he's been sharp in his works, and that they're getting him to the race as well as they can hope for. I haven't just sensed any negative feelings from either the owners or the trainer about him. Is he good enough to win this race? Well, he's been good enough to be very competitive in virtually every race that he's been in. They've made the jockey change that to Jose Ortiz. You could get a sense a little bit of, well, they haven't come out and criticized Rispoli. That's kind of a classy approach for those guys to do it. But they were, I think people who watched this horse race could see that he had to overcome some trouble that maybe Rispoli was involved in, and just not getting him in the right spot. We got a lot of action going on around here in Del Mar. A lot of noise. But I think my sense is, after talking to the owner and to McCarthy, that they feel like they made the right decisions. It wasn't an easy decision for them to avoid coming back across the country, but they did that, and so he's proven himself. This guy's a trooper. Can he handle fierceness and some of these others in the Sierra Leone in this really great field? Well, time will tell. That's why we run our races.
Well, that's one of 4 horses entered on this Saturday program for Michael McCarthy, a longtime Todd Pletcher assistant, so the apple not falling far from the tree there. How about Tim Yakteen, Mike? He'll send out Johannes, who is so good when he's on his A game, and he's been on his A game for much of his career. He sends him out in the Breeders' Cup Mile. Talk to me about Tim Yakteen and Johannes.
Boy, I wish I could deal with Tim Yakteen more often. He's on one coast and I'm on another. I talked to him a couple of times this week about the horse, and he was very enthusiastic. This horse has been consistently good, and for these 2 years, they have announced in the last few days that he's going to go to stud next year, which is certainly not a surprise considering his record. He felt that the horse ran a winning race last year in the mile, and just was nailed at the end. And it was, I remember standing out on the track with him, and Tim was happy with the way the horse had run, and he credited the fact that he didn't run quite well enough to get this done. But he said to me this week that he thinks that what he's seeing from his horse, that he's got him going, and he's in the same position. If he runs the same type of race that he ran last year, he feels like he's a very live shot to win the race.
Mike, so many storylines, so many angles, as you would expect with the Breeders' Cup World Championships. Really appreciate you taking a few minutes to be with me here this morning. Keep up the wonderful work and enjoy your Breeders' Cup Saturday, my friend.
Always nice to be with you, Mike. Thanks for having the chat, and we'll see you down the road.
The outstanding writer, Mike Kane, with me here covering the Breeders' Cup for you on this Saturday morning. If you missed the trivia question that I gave out at the top of the show, our impossible trivia put together by our producer, Lee Delapina, here it is for you. How much did Graham Stone and Will Dixon earn on their winning Pick 6 ticket for the 2003 Breeders' Cup? How much did they earn on that winning Pick 6 ticket? Interesting question. The answer comes your way right about 10:55 Eastern at the end of the show. When I come back, we go down the road to the Breeders' Cup. I'll visit with owner Sol Kumin to celebrate Lady Eli Week here on HRRN. That's next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Will you accept the Breeders' Cup Challenge? The chance to compete against the best in the world? The chance to race for a piece of over $34 million in purses and awards? The chance to be a champion. Winning a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race gives you the chance to do just that, with an invitation to horse racing's biggest event of the year, the Breeders' Cup World Championships in Del Mar, where finish lines become the start of a legacy and starting gates shine on the world stage. Win a Breeders' Cup Challenge Series race and earn an automatic starting position in a Breeders' Cup race. Entry fees paid by the Breeders' Cup, a Nominator Award of $10,000, travel awards, and so much more. Here, winning a Challenge Series race is just the beginning. View the schedule of Challenge Series races happening around the world and learn more at breederscup.com/challenge.
Times have changed, but some things remain timeless. Hard work, perseverance, unwavering dedication. From sun up to sundown, our passion fuels us to drive further and push harder. We do it for the horses, for our families, and for the sport we all love. For well over a century, we've committed to doing the usual, unusually well. Claiborne Farm, the tradition continues.
This is Lady Eli Week, presented by Keeneland Sales and powered by the KTDF.
Keeneland November is where futures take root and legacies pass from one hand to the next. In the ring, excitement builds. A glance, a nod, a bid. History changes in an instant, and the impact lasts a lifetime. The market is here. The global stage is here. Your moment is here. Keeneland November.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Wide open at the top of the lane, but they are chasing Sunset Glow. Lady Eli now gets a break at the rail, and Lady Eli takes off along the inside. Lady Eli, electrifying turn of speed, gets the lead. Sunset Glow tries to battle back, but this is a scintillating performance from Lady Eli, star of the future. Lady Eli could not have been more impressive. Sunset Glow was second. Osala got up for third, and then Prize Exhibit.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch. Happy to have you along for the ride. And what a ride it was with Lady Eli. That was Trevor Denman with the call of the 2014 Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf. It was a race you heard live right here on the Horse Racing Radio Network as part of our coverage that year. And what a special moment for Lady Eli and for the connections. And all week long, we have been celebrating Lady Eli Week, presented by Keeneland Sales. And our thanks to Keeneland for all of their support of these horse weeks that we brought your way throughout the year. But Lady Eli certainly fits the bill when you talk about Keeneland Sales. She's a 3-time Keeneland Sales graduate, 10 wins from 14 lifetime starts, $2.95 million in career earnings, and she was certainly special to her connections, including owner Sol Kumin, who joins me now to go down the road to the Breeders' Cup. Sol, appreciate the visit, my friend.
Psyched to be here, man. Thanks for having me on.
How cool is it to listen back to that call again?
Oh, that was a happy day. That was our first horse and our first Breeders' Cup win. And, we've been back for our 11th year since, but it brings back chills, man. That was a happy day.
You kind of started at the top there, didn't you, with a horse like Lady Eli?
Yeah. It definitely made it seem like this wasn't that hard of a sport. I think after you do it for a little bit longer, you realize, you really you remember the good ones, and that's one of the best ones we've ever had. And she's a special horse. I don't think if we hadn't been as lucky and fortunate, to own her that early in our racing careers, that we would have, still be as involved as we are today. I mean, I think that's the horse that got us hooked. And, everyone's, I think when you talk to people about their experiences, they always kind of come back to one horse, and, that's the one for us.
Well, other than the Breeders' Cup win, which obviously is her signature victory, but there were other outstanding performances. But Sol, when you hear the name Lady Eli, what are some of the things that immediately come to mind for you?
Well, the first thing is my wife, since it's her name, and we named it after her. So that's the first thing. This horse went through, it so much. I mean, I think, when you think about her career, started off as, Chad would tell you, I think as brilliant of a turf horse as he's ever trained, 6 for 6 with some dominating performances, obviously, like that Breeders' Cup win that we just listened to. And then, stepped on a nail coming back from her drug test after winning her 6th race in a row, which was an incredible race, the Belmont Oaks, just kind of showing that she could go further and continue to really win at a high level. I think after that race, we're in the winner's circle talking to Chad, thinking we might have one of the best turf horses in the world. And then, to 2 days later, taking the train out to Belmont when she's got her feet in ice buckets, trying to learn what laminitis is, and just going through, the ups and downs of the sport and understanding that holy moly, I hope she just makes it. Never mind, the chance to have her ever come back. And then, if she does come back, could she come back at a high level, which is so rare. And then the comeback story a year later with her, winning another Grade 1 and becoming champion at 5. And it really is it's a movie type story. And you get to really see the highs and the lows. And, I haven't had a horse like that ever before, and we've owned a lot of them. So it's really, I think of a lot of things that brings a lot of emotion to mind for me.
How much doubt did you have during that period when she was on the sidelines and you didn't know if she was going to make it back? How much doubt did you have that she would get back, and what gave you the confidence that maybe she would?
I mean, all I wanted her to do was live. I mean, and just be healthy. And my hope for her was that she'd be able to be a mom, and that was it. The chances of her coming back as a racehorse when you read and look at the odds is so low. And then obviously knowing how competitive she was, having her come back at a high level and be able to perform at a high level, it honestly never crossed my mind until she kind of got there, right? And so, your thinking changes and evolves so much as you're going through kind of those lows. Once she came back and she was healthy, and we were kind of like, all right, she's breathing, and Chad's like, she's actually breathing great. I think she's come back. You start getting excited again, but you're nervous, and you just want to make sure that everything's going to be okay. And then, even though that comeback race, she ended up getting nipped at the wire, you kind of felt like, all right, like she's back. She might be not quite as brilliant as she was before she got sick, but she is a very good racehorse. And then obviously, going on that kind of end of that journey and watching what she could do after being as sick as she was really inspiring, and just showed you what kind of heart she had. She was a special horse.
Sol, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't Cherie DeVoe working with Chad as an assistant at that time?
Yes, Cherie was one of Chad's main assistants, and she was, always with Lady Eli, right? I mean, I would say, Chad trained the filly, and Cherie was, trainer 1A, and she loved the horse. I mean, she was always in the barn with her, and had a special relationship with her. And so we would text Cherie all the time to find out how she was doing, and just because she had a strong affinity towards her. So, they were very close. She was a barn favorite for sure.
That relationship continues at this year's Breeders' Cup races, and we are recording this conversation on Friday morning prior to the Friday Breeders' Cup races, so we won't know if Dr. Agnew, the daughter of Lady Eli, trained by Cherie DeVoe, gets the victory in the second race of the afternoon, the Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance Stakes. But my goodness, what a cool win that would be.
It would be awesome. I believe it is the son, not the daughter. I've made that mistake myself.
Yes, you're right. You are correct.
And it would be so cool. And I feel like he's been very green, and he looks like he's just starting to kind of figure it out. I thought his last race, he didn't have a great trip, and had a chance to get into the Breeders' Cup body, and just came up a little bit short. And we thought this race at a mile would be a really good fit for him. I think he's kind of running really well today. I mean, we'll find out when this airs tomorrow. We'll know the answer. But but I'm excited. I mean, the only bad news is that the race is so early. I've got to go over to the Breeders' Cup at like 11:30 in the morning. But besides that, yeah, I'm really excited to see him run. It would be pretty cool just on a big stage like this to have him win, and then I think we'll probably put him away and let him rest, let him grow, and bring him back next year, and hopefully have an exciting 3-year-old turf colt for us.
You may also be celebrating victories by either Intricate Spirit in the juvenile turf sprint or Litmus Test in the juvenile. Both of those races being run Friday afternoon. Maybe you're celebrating victories in both. That would be spectacular, Sol. But best of luck there. But let's talk about the Saturday horses that you're going to be involved with. And it starts with Imagination in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, a horse that on his day is as good as it gets.
Yeah, he's kind of interesting in here. It looks like, he's going to need a lot of speed, and it looks on paper like there's a lot of speed in the race. He's I think kind of a difficult horse to ride, and Juan seems to have figured him out a little bit. I mean, I think if he can repeat the performance that he had last at Santa Anita in that sprint race, I think he has a chance to be right there. It's obviously a very tough race. All these races are, but if he can sort of tuck in and save a little bit of ground, and we get the pace that we think we're going to get, and maybe he just comes running and we get lucky. And so we won that race with Whitmore a couple of years back, and he's kind of a similar type horse. Needs kind of everything to go his way, but if it happens, it's possible. So we'll see. I'm excited. We went to visit him yesterday in the barns, and he's a cool looking horse and kind of a cool dude. So I'm excited to see how he does out there tomorrow.
One of the things that makes sports so special is when you get rematches in a grudge match, if you will. Well, Imagination defeated both Dr. Venkman and Straight No Chaser, who, by the way, the defending champion in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. He defeated both of them last time out in the Santa Anita Sprint Championship. So that's one heck of a rematch coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, it's going to be a great race. I mean, there's a lot of horses that can win. It's going to come down to trip and who fires their A race, and listen, that's why they run them, right? I looked at the race last night, and I mean, it looks like there's 6 or 7 horses that I think are pretty live in there. So it's exciting. I mean, look, these Breeders' Cup days, they are so tough. There are so many good horses. You need everything to go right, and it's hard to have your horses peaking at the right time, and they get hurt, they get sick, all kinds of stuff happens. So we get them to the starting gate, anything can happen, and we come to these weekends just hoping to get lucky once, and if that happens, we're going to go home with a big smile on our face.
I remember talking with trainer Brendan Walsh about Clico back before she won the Cotillion. We talked that morning on this very same show, and he believed with all his heart that after her win in the Indiana Oaks, even though she was going from a grade 3 to a grade 1, he believed she belonged and she deserved her shot, and it proved that he was right. Tell me a little bit more about Clico and the distaff.
Yeah, I mean, she's kind of sneaky in there also, I think. I ran into Brendan this morning in the lobby when I was getting coffee at the hotel, and he said she's doing great. And you're right, he has had a lot of confidence in her, frankly, well before I did. He pointed to that, the Cotillion months in advance. He was dead right on her firing her A race, so he's done a really, really nice job with her. The race to me looks kind of open. Obviously, Bob Baffert's filly, I think on paper looks a little bit faster than everybody else, but she's run out here in California against small fields, and it looks like to be a lot of speed in there. So I'm excited for that race. I think that's from a betting perspective of all of our horses this weekend, probably the one that intrigues me the most, just because I think you'll get 8-1, 10-1, and I do think the race is pretty wide open, and she's doing great. So Brendan's really he's an excellent trainer, and has had a real beat on this horse over the last 3 or 4 months, and she is definitely improving, and that's nice to see.
Going down the road to the Breeders' Cup here on the Equine Forum with Sol Kumin. He is the owner of several Breeders' Cup contenders this year, as you are hearing, and also the owner of champion Lady Eli, and looking forward to Dr. Agnew. Of course, racing on Friday. We'll know the results as you're listening to this conversation here on Saturday. But Dr. Agnew, the son of Lady Eli, trained by Cherie DeVoe, that's a special storyline associated with the Breeders' Cup races this year. Let's talk about the Dirt Mile. This is a race. The Breeders' Cup Classic gets a lot of hype, and rightfully so. It's a deep Breeders' Cup Classic, even with the defection of Sovereignty. But, Sol, I got to tell you, this Dirt Mile is absolutely loaded, and you have your champion Citizen Bull, goal-oriented in here, both for Bob Baffert. Tell me more about this race.
Yeah, this is an exciting race. I mean, there are so many good horses in here. It's one of my favorite races every year because it always looks so wide open. I think the bad news is I think Bob Baffert probably likes his third horse in here a little bit better than our two.
You couldn't get in on Nisos, huh? You couldn't get in at the last minute?
No. I wish. Too expensive for me. So I think, look, I think if you're, the odds are telling you that's the one that I know that Bob really likes, and that horse is, if he's doing well, is really fast. And I've heard Bob use the word freaky. So we're gonna need that horse to not fire his A+ race, and we're gonna need to kind of trip out a little bit. I think Citizen Bull. I think everyone knows the style. He's going to go to the front and just roll, and we'll see what happens. I mean, he did it last year in the Breeders' Cup. I think he's definitely come back into form. I loved his last race, and that's one of the things Bob is so good at is, some of these horses you kind of lose a little bit of faith in because they run a couple of clunkers, and then all of a sudden Bob's able to give them a little bit of time and bring them back at such a high level that it's one of the things he does better than anybody. So, I think he's got a chance. I think everything's going to kind of have to go his way, but he's exciting to be in there, and I love having a horse on the front, and just hopefully he gets a good spot, and they maybe don't catch him. The horse that I think is a little bit more interesting is goal-oriented on a cutback. Bob's been really high on this horse all year. We've been running him in obviously big races, Preakness Haskell type races, and I think the mile is probably his jam. I think that's probably what he wants to do. I think with these 3-year-olds, we all dream and you try to stretch them out and think, mile and a 16th, mile and an 8th, mile and a quarter, we can do this. I think he's probably doing what he wants to do. And he's got a good post. I'm kind of excited for him. So again, from a betting standpoint, that's the one I probably put my money on if I'm not going to bet Nisos. So we'll see. It's an exciting race. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody won that wasn't one of Bob's 3. There's a lot of really good horses in here, and so we're gonna have to see what happens. But I'm pumped for that race. It's actually probably the race I'm looking forward to watching the most on the card on Saturday.
Yeah, it's race 11. Race 12 is the final Breeders' Cup race Saturday afternoon, the final race on the program. It's the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. You'll send out Mission of Joy and their trainer Phil D'Amato. And Mission of Joy will be accompanied by Umberto Rispoli. Last time out, an 11-1 upsetter of the Grade 2 Rodeo Drive at Santa Anita. Draws the rail. You're 30-1. This would be a bit of a shocker.
This would be a shocker. I'm surprised that this horse is in the Breeders' Cup. She won that prep, and it was a win and you're in, and she didn't have to ship, but she's in California. She actually drew phenomenally well. It's a 3-turn race, and she drew the 1. Which is great. So I think he's going to sit there and save some ground and try to come with a run, and maybe we shock the world. But I'd probably keep your money in your pocket on this one, and we'll see. I mean, she's a very nice filly. She had a good career with Graham Motion. We moved her out here to California. We thought that she'd like the she just maybe needed a change and would like the firm ground, and I was surprised when she won at 11-1, to be honest. And I'm excited to watch her run. I'm thrilled she's here, but I think with some of these Euros in there, I think she's probably in a little bit over her head. But listen, you got to be in it to win it. So we'll take a shot and see if we get lucky. But I would be very surprised if we are taking a picture after this one.
Sol, I want to wish you all the best with your horses coming up here later today, and yeah, thanks again for spending some time looking back on Lady Eli. Really appreciate that. All the best on this Breeders' Cup Saturday and going forward. You're a class act. Keep it rolling, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you so much, buddy. I really appreciate it, and good luck with the weekend, and I hope to speak to you soon. Take care of yourself.
You got it, pal. Sol Kumin going down the road to the Breeders' Cup. Our final edition of Road to the Breeders' Cup here in 2025, because that road ends today at Del Mar. And what a ride it's been. And it's more fireworks expected to come later today. All right, coming up next, we're going to turn our attention back to the horse sales, but we're also going to tie it into the Breeders' Cup because Millridge and Nakoma Sales, associated with many Breeders' Cup contenders over the course of the two-day event. Price Bell Jr. is going to join me momentarily. But speaking of Millridge, one of the things we'll talk about is their stallions. They have some ultra-talented stallions there, including Oscar Performance and Aloha West. But Casa Creed is one that I have my eye on because he has all these qualities, right, that contribute to the breed. He has talent as a racehorse. I call him the Iron Horse because he had 4 Grade 1 wins. He had 15 Grade 1 starts. That in itself is remarkable. And then his biggest fan, Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott, said his soundness, toughness, and quality, and that he was never x-rayed in his 7 years of racing and 36 starts, sets him apart from all others and what our breed needs. He's got a great support system in his first year at stud, and Casa Creed is one that I'm definitely going to talk about when Price joins me here in just a few moments. That's coming up on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN, Horse Racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Send your mare to Maryland. After she foals here, breed to one of our stallions, and your 2025 foal is eligible to be a registered Maryland bred, giving you the opportunity to earn significant bonuses. And beginning with 2-year-olds of 2025, Maryland bred and Maryland sired horses will earn 40% higher breeder bonuses than out-of-state sired runners. Maryland, a foundation of greatness, a bright future ahead. Learn more at MarylandThoroughbred.com.
Denali Stud has raised and sold Saturday afternoon horses for over 30 years.
Journalism is sensational run. Chancellor McPatrick, who would not be denied.
Denali sold Breeders' Cup horses include Classic Contender Journalism and Dirt Mile Contender Chancellor McPatrick. Denali is also selling Distaff Contender Gunsong at the Fasig-Tipton Night of Stars sale for Lee Lewis. Visit DenaliStud.com.
The world's premier breeding stock event, the November sale at Fasig-Tipton. A night of stars featuring over 70 graded stakes winners or producers, and no less than 30 Grade 1 winners or producers. Champions, millionaires, elite producers, and selected weanlings. One catalog, one spectacular session, one star-studded evening with the highest concentration of quality breeding stock anywhere in the world. The Fasig-Tipton November sale, November 3rd in Lexington, Kentucky. Where will you be?
The 26-day fall meet at Churchill Downs begins Sunday, October 26th with live racing through Sunday, November 30th. The fall meet will run Wednesday through Sunday. First post is 1 p.m., except for Thanksgiving Day, which gets underway at 11:30 a.m. The road to the Kentucky Derby goes through the Churchill Downs fall meet twice, with the $200,000 Street Sense on Sunday, October 26th, and the $400,000 Kentucky Jockey Club on Saturday, November 29th. And you won't want to miss the 27th running of the Claiming Crown, which will be held Saturday, November 15th, featuring some of the top hard-knocking veterans in North America. For more information about the fall meet, visit ChurchillDowns.com and follow Churchill Downs on all social media platforms.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Now, Ben Curtis takes Think Big to the outside with the white blinkers to unleash his run as they come through the stretch. AG Bullet on the outside of Coppola. On the inside, My Boy Prince is in third and trying to get to this leader. And it's AG Bullet running powerfully to the wire. AG Bullet dominates the Jaipur. Three-way photo for second. Looked like My Boy Prince. And then between Alagon and Arzak.
Welcome back to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires. Mike Penna, Baron of the Backstretch, moving right along on this Breeders' Cup Saturday morning. Happy to have you with me. Getting ready to wind down hour number 2, but we do it in a big way as I welcome Price Bell Jr. from Millridge. Millridge getting set to sell AG Bullet as part of their Night of Stars consignment coming up on Monday at Fasig-Tipton in Lexington. You just heard Frank Miramati with the call. The Grade 1 Jaipur, AG Bullet defeating the boys. She came so close to knocking off the boys in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint last year, finishing third, beaten just a neck. She gets another crack at him this afternoon in race number 5, 3:41 Eastern, the post. And I know that Price would be thrilled if she can find a way to do it later today. Price, good morning.
Good morning, Mike. What a great call that is. I tell you, we should talk more often.
We certainly should. I mean, she's a 5-year-old mare now, daughter of Twirling Candy, and every time she goes to the races, she brings her A game. She's simply brilliant.
Oh, she is, and she's just beautiful. And so her name, AG, as a scientist like yourself, is the chemical symbol for silver. And so she's named the Silver Bullet, and she's just the most beautifully balanced, strikingly gray mare who just gives it all every time and is just so fast, which, if I'm not mistaken, that is the business we're in, right? Fast horses.
Yeah, and she's fast, she's classy, she checks all the boxes, as you like to say. And I know that when you bring her to your consignment coming up on Monday at Fasig-Tipton, you're going to be very proud to be able to bring her out of the stall, show her, let people come by and get a look at her. She speaks for herself, but I know the pride that you take in putting together these consignments, Price, and you'll be exceptionally proud with AG Bullet.
Absolutely, but it's just a real privilege to represent, Richie Baltus, Calvin Wynn, Joey Tran. I mean, she means so much to them. I mean, they're all such close friends, and it's just an honor to, present her to the market on their behalf because, what she represents to them is just so special.
It's interesting you bring that up. Let's talk about that for a minute, Price. I remember years ago standing with Buff Bradley when Groupie Doll went through the sales ring, and the emotions that were coming out of Buff as he's watching the bidding go up, knowing that he's saying goodbye to a horse that meant so much to him and to his family and to his career. AG Bullet, same thing for her connections. As the consigner, how aware are you of what this horse has meant to the connections?
Oh, exceptionally. I mean, and we're only with her for a very short amount of time, and it's our job to put in the work ahead of time to make sure that the global market is aware of her, and that there's certainly high expectations in where she will go and what she might sell for, but it's our job to make sure that the market is aware, that the market shows up, and then to just to try and be a conduit on that final moment for them, and make that process as exciting and rewarding as possible. But at the end of the day, it's about her and her incredible abilities, and it's about them, those that brought her, quality to the world stage, for lack of a better word. Nurtured it and trained it, and helped her become all that she has become.
Well, the last time you left Fasig-Tipton, you left there with a sale topper through the Millridge consignment. That was in October with the October sale. Now you come here for the Night of Star sale. Completely different type of sale, but AG Bullet's the headliner. Tell me about the rest of your consignment.
We also sell a half-sister to Vava, a mare named Signal from Noise. This is an Airgate mare that Chad Brown bought for the Klarovich team, and in her 2-year-old year, and he really thought that she was going to be his Oaks filly until she got a pneumonia that kind of knocked her off for several months. But she is just a beautiful filly. She ends up winning her first race by 10 lengths, and runs third in the Beldame later, and so she's out of the mare Holiday Soiree, who may be the most exciting dirt family in America. Vava is as a younger sister. Vava is also by Gunrunner. Runs in the, mare sprint today. Then there's the filly Ahava, who's by City of Light, also a stakes winner. There was a Nyquist that sold for $800,000 last year, filly, who's a 2-year-old, and then the City of Light sold for, I think, $750 this year, also fillies. So as a breeder, you look at a pedigree and you see this mare Holiday Soiree, who's still in production, and then you see 6 daughters who are all accomplished racehorses or exceptionally well-bred and attractive horses that have sold for a lot of money. And so you know that over the next 10 years, this pedigree is going to completely change because all these daughters are going to be well-bred. And so Signal from Noise is by Arrogate, who I think could be the second coming of his sire, Unbridled Song, is a broodmare sire. And Signal from Noise sells with Enfolded Gunrunner. So she's a very exciting prospect. And then we sell a beautiful Quality Road mare who's gotten a very exciting young start to his broodmare career, or broodmare sire career, and several athletic weanlings. So we are very excited.
Well, as you should be. And Price, there are so many, as it seems like every year, so many Millridge-Nakoma ties to Breeders' Cup horses, and you kind of got that started yesterday. You had Here's Johnny in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf, ends up finishing a solid fifth in there, but stark contrast really stole the show. Ends up finishing second at 58-1 in that same race.
It was unbelievable. And I mean, you watch the replay and you feel like, man, if he gets a lane,
yeah.
I mean, Gustad in the paddock, Gustad was just, I mean, he was he was a beautiful horse, and the Valley Duel team just brings horses over here that are just you just marvel and are so privileged to see them. And so for stark contrast to kind of be bottled up and then sprint into it, you're like, whoa. It was just, oh man, it made you're so proud of the effort. You're just so proud of the effort. So as a small note there, Mike, speaking of Quality Road as a broodmare sire, stark contrast is out of the Quality Road mare, Catch the Eye. So, big things to come.
Yeah, big things to come indeed. There are a total of 6 horses at this year's Breeders' Cup that are associated with Millridge-Nakoma. Time to Dream was the other one who ran in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf yesterday. And then you have 3 today with No Balls going in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. We know he's capable of winning that race. He's done it. And then Tumbarumba in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, Valiant Force in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. So an exciting day ahead.
Yes, it's I tell you, my takeaway from yesterday was just, it is so hard. It is so hard to win these races. I mean, they're just, and because the horses are just so exceptional. I mean, they do a fantastic job. It really is the world championship. I mean, because these are incredible horses, and golly, each one. I don't know. I mean, it's almost like a Breeders' Cup award isn't enough because it is so difficult. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah, it really is. When you're watching these races, I know you're cheering for your connections, certainly, but for you, Price, when they do finally break through and they get a big win, what's that moment like as somebody who has been there raising, selling these young horses, and then to see them have success on the big stage?
Oh, I mean, it's why you wake up every day, right? It's why. Yeah. I mean, it really, and you just, I don't know, it's pride, it's elation, it's appreciation, it's all the emotions that just, you want more of. So when it happens, you're like, oh my goodness, that is just the best. And then you're like, okay, I want to do that again, but I mean, truly you're also so humbled because you know how hard it is. And there are so many people who also work every day to bring their horses to that same race. And, it is just, I don't know. We're so lucky to work with these incredible animals and the incredible, they're just a total inspiration.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the 3 stallions that stand at Millridge. You have Oscar Performance, you have Casa Creed, and you have Aloha West. And we'll start with Oscar Performance. He's the leader right now. He's had so much success. We'll see Casa Creed babies soon. We'll see Aloha West babies very soon. That's going to be exciting. But Oscar Performance, another exceptional year. He had Grade 1 winner World Beater, who has just been absolutely brilliant as part of his season. But there was so much more to love about Oscar Performance again here in 2025.
No, he's been the greatest gift. And Here's Johnny ran a very good 5th yesterday. He had a very good winner at Churchill Downs and Baraka. Won her second start on dirt, going 7 furlongs. And Tumbarumba, I think, has a big shot in the dirt mile. I think he's coming into it well, and Brian and Aaron Lynch have just done an incredible job with him. Brian's not out here, so for the punters, they might think, he might not believe, but he also didn't go to the Woodbine Mile when Oscar Performance rolled in the Woodbine Mile, and Aaron was there to do the work. So it might be a hunch play. He might feel that on the big stages maybe he needs to stay home. So I don't know.
Let me tell you, if Tumbarumba wins that dirt mile today, he's really done something. That field is stacked. Stacked. No, I couldn't agree more. But I thought his ACAC was really inspired. I think he and Tyler really get along well, and you got to be in it to win it, right? But I think he's coming in a good spot. But regardless, he's done so much for the stallion, and Oscar Performance I just think is such a gift. He's imparting on his offspring just a great desire to win, and I'm really excited about the mares and the foals that are coming through and those that are on the track now, and just I don't know. The other thing I guess I would say is that trainers that I talk to about him just seem to really love to train Oscar Performances. They seem to get better. They seem to want to do their work. They want to win, and I don't know. It's a great gift. It's a great gift to have reason for people to be able to talk to you, not run from you. Yeah, well, Dale Romans has said it on this program many times how much he enjoys working with the Oscar Performance babies, and he tabbed Oscar Performance when he first went to stud as being a future star, and he was spot on. Yeah, I think you're right. I think trainers realize it. I think owners realize it, and that's why he continues to have success. But when you have a stallion that bursts onto the scene so quickly, the way Oscar Performance does or did, Price, what's the key to keeping him at the top of these sire lists year in and year out? Because you've been able to do it.
Well, I don't know. I think we've tried to really be. We try to be appreciative to the breeders who supported him, certainly in the first number of years. And even as he started becoming more popular, we would, provide discounts to breeders who'd bred to him before. We've tried to keep his stud fee at an approachable level so that, breeders could, look at it and say, okay, that's value. That'll help my mare. I want to support that. Because, there'd be no opportunity to train them or see them in the winner's circle if there weren't the breeders who, stepped up and put their mares up and raised the horses, and et cetera. So I don't know, we've tried to, it's not easy because you want to, we're committed to wanting to limit his book so that on the back end, if breeders go to sell, there's not an oversupply of them. So you're trying to have to take these kind of measured steps where you have a limited supply, demand, you price it accordingly, but hopefully you're not pricing it such that, breeders don't think that you're trying to take advantage. And I guess that's what we've tried to always do is be very measured and try and be fair so that, because at the end of the day, without the breeder's support, there wouldn't be no Tumbarumba or Here's Johnny or World Beater, and the list goes on.
Both Aloha West and Casa Creed have received great support from breeders early in their stallion careers. Aloha West will have his first runners coming up in 2026. We await Casa Creed's babies. He's what I refer to as the Iron Horse, starting in 15 Grade 1 races, winning 4 of those. Absolutely incredible.
Right.
Talk to me about Aloha West and Casa Creed for just a minute.
Aloha West, won the Breeders' Cup Sprint here, which is captivated everyone's minds, and I tell you, I've loved the yearlings and the foals that we've had and the yearlings that we've had, and I'm really excited. I tell you, I think he was always regarded as a very good 2-year-old, even though he didn't break his mane until 4. He had some injuries, which he overcame with brilliance. So I guess in many respects, there's a lot unknown about Aloha West, but to be around him and to see him and to think about the campaign he put together at 4 to break his maiden in February to win the Breeders' Cup Sprint in October. I mean, he is a brilliant racehorse that's, I think, very well bred, and I think I'm hopeful. As I say on tours and to share with people, from what we do at Millridge is we take horses from conception through high school graduation, and now they've graduated, they go to college where they're taught how to be ridden, and it's a really exciting time because the team, the Ocala, the people who do the pre-training, and people who take them to be ridden and to start working them. If they demonstrate to that group of people what they've demonstrated to us, then maybe you have a little bit of momentum because there's a lot of chat. Everybody's so excited starting, I don't know, December, January. Everybody's like, oh, what young sire do you like? What young sire do you like? And so I'm hopeful that they start talking about Aloha West and gives us, great anticipation. And then Casa Creed, I think that he's what we as breeders of thoroughbreds are looking for. I mean, a horse who just wants to win, competed for 7 years on the racetrack, as you said, 15 grade ones. I don't think he was ever beaten worse than, 4.5 lengths in them. I think he was fifth one time. I mean, the horse just showed up around the world every time. And if he can impart that tenacity and desire into his offspring, then, we'll be very thankful to be following his horses for years to come. So we're very excited and very, very, very blessed to have the opportunity to carry these horses into their next careers.
Price Bell Jr., Millridge. Price, appreciate the time as always. Best of luck with No Balls and Tumbarumba and Valiant Force in the Breeders' Cup later today, and best of luck at the Night of Star sales at Fasig-Tipton, and then beyond to Keeneland as well. Best of luck with those consignments too, my friend.
Thank you so much, Mike. You all have a great one, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.
All right, great stuff from Price Bell. I was going to ask him his best bet of the day, as I'm asking you on our social media pages and our poll question here this morning. I'm sure he'd have a hard time picking between those three, but best of luck to the team at Millridge. They're fantastic, and make sure you stop by and see their consignment. Coming up next, I'll take a look at historical date in racing history or two as it applies to this weekend and tell you what's ahead in Hour 3 on this Breeders' Cup Saturday edition of the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network.
The National HBPA is continuously working to protect the health and welfare of horses by advocating and funding research to help reduce equine injuries, lobbying for a national testing lab to oversee and establish absolute uniform laboratory protocols, advocating for every track to undergo an annual independent surface assessment, passionately supporting off-the-track thoroughbred retirement facilities and adoption groups, and so much more. See additional HBPA initiatives at nationalhbpa.com.
James Brown and Bill Cowher welcoming you back to Dennis Melvin's house. It's time for the Midnight Snack Run.
This is one tricky obstacle course. Sticking to healthy habits in this kitchen is going to take focus and determination, but it can be done, JB.
He's already entered the snack part of the course, and he's eyeballing a jar of chocolatey candy.
That is tempting right off the start.
Uh-oh, he's reaching, Bill, but he pushes it away.
Great stiff arm.
He's approaching a plate of delicious-looking iced cookies.
Oh, Dennis, you only want one of those.
He blows right by him for the apple.
Oh, the fridge. It's make or break time, JB.
He stares down some rich-looking treats. Uh-oh, looks like he's headed for the soda. Wait, he jukes left, grabs the water bottle, and shuts the door with his elbow in record time.
Unbelievable move. I gotta see that again.
And he's out. He even turned off the light.
That's the way you execute a midnight snack run.
Stand Up to Cancer and Rally want you to reduce your risk for cancer.
Go to takeahealthystand.org.
Retirement can be scary, but only if you're not prepared. That's why AARP created thisispretirement.org. Because unless you've already retired, you're in pretirement, and you still have time to plan. Learn about retirement savings options, potential tax breaks, and how you can build savings over time. Visit thisispretirement.org for free resources to help you customize your action plan and feel the retirement fear disappear. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
You're listening to Lady Eli Week, presented by Keeneland Sales and powered by the KTDF.
Keeneland November is where futures take root and legacies pass from one hand to the next. In the ring, excitement builds. A glance, a nod, a bid. History changes in an instant, and the impact lasts a lifetime. The market is here. The global stage is here. Your moment is here. Keeneland November.
Hey, this is Bobby Newman. Join me every Friday afternoon to dive deep into handicapping the races. We'll cover the live action from some of the biggest tracks in the country, talk to some of the major players in the game, and hopefully make a little money along the way. You can also call the show to share your opinions, ask a question or two, or maybe just vent about some bad beats. It's Betting with Bobby every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern on Sirius 162, XM 207, online channel 999, or streaming live at horseracingradio.net.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Well, another reminder that you can add Derby and Dance Party video horse racing to your next event, and I'm telling you, it is really cool. If you haven't checked it out yet, go to derbydanceparty.com to see a video from some of their previous parties. You're going to love it, and you don't even have to be you don't need horse racing knowledge to enjoy this. It will take your next party to a whole new level, whether you're hosting your own personal horse racing watch party or a company gathering for employees and clients, maybe a holiday party. The Derby and Dance Party video horse racing is a sure winner, and I'm telling you, you're going to love it. Absolutely love it. Go to derbydanceparty.com or call 844-MY-PHILLY to learn more. Hey, only one date in historical racing. Well, there were plenty, but November 1st, 1938 is the day that Seabiscuit, under jockey George Wolfe, defeated odds-on favorite War Admiral in the Pimlico Special. Run as a winner-take-all match race with a purse of $15,000. November 1st, 1938. All right, 2 hours down, 1 to go on this Breeders' Cup Saturday edition of the Equine Forum. Hour 3 begins with the TwinSpires Triple Play. Ashley Anderson will do the honors for us coming up shortly. If your local station is leaving us, continue listening on our website and SiriusXM. Hour 3 coming up next on the Equine Forum.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
This is unbelievable! Zenyatta! What a performance, one we'll never forget! And Alishiba, America's horse, has done it!
Wise Dan, brilliant in the mile! It is all Songbird, Mike Smith aboard, crushing the field.
And Coach Zepper is pulling away impressively.
And it's a vintage performance by Vino Rosso.
Welcome to the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires.
Mucho Macho Man, the more they ask, the more he gave.
Sierra Leone does it in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Here is our Kane to win it in an absolute shocker. He's 99-1.
He's an everlasting credit to the sport. American Pharaoh has belted a grand slam in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Arrogate still coming. California Chrome. Arrogate steals the show in the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Here's the wire. Princess Rooney, an absolute runaway winner.
But this brilliant filly's going to take them all the way. Torpedo Anna, what a year for her.
Lightline has won the Breeders' Cup Classic.
Now here's Mike Penna.
Welcome back. Hour 3 of the Equine Forum on this Breeders' Cup Saturday, meaning we are just about 3 hours away from the kickoff of Breeders' Cup Saturday, at least the first race on that program. 5 hours away from the first Breeders' Cup event, which is the Filly and Mare Sprint. Going to talk more about that with Ashley Anderson, who joins me momentarily with the TwinSpires Triple Play. But we have covered a lot of ground over the first couple of hours of the program. Had a chance to catch up with Boyd Browning from Fasig-Tipton, with Mike Kane and Tim Wilkin, all part of the Breeders' Cup Notes team. And then you heard from Sol Kumin as well. All of that part of a very busy couple of hours. Price Bell, by the way, from Millridge, too, with me in the first couple of hours of the show. If you missed it, head back to the website, horseracingradio.net, to check out the podcast. Do that, too, on your favorite podcast platform. Wherever you get your podcast, you can follow along with this show and all of our shows we bring your way every single week during the year at horseracingradio.net and your favorite podcast platform. A lot of things to get to here in the third hour. The TwinSpires Triple Play coming up, as I just mentioned. Kurt Becker's Stroll Through Racing History. We continue to wrap up Lady Eli week here on the network. I hope you've enjoyed that on all of our shows and on our social media pages. The week presented by Keeneland Sales. And then Dale and Tim, I asked, they answer. A double shot at Tim Wilkin for you here this morning on the Equine Forum. Why not? It's Breeders' Cup Saturday. Time to ramp it up with Tim Wilkin. He was fantastic earlier in the show. I think you're going to love what he has to say along with Dale Romans in the final segment at 10:30. Before I get to Ashley, though, I mentioned Price Bell from Millridge was here. We talked about the Stallions at Millridge. And one thing I want to mention is, on these Breeders' Cup days, you kind of find yourself remembering back to some of the top performances we've seen in Breeders' Cup history. One of those came from Aloha West, who is now a stallion at Millridge. When he won the Breeders' Cup Sprint in 2021 and was so awesome that year, his first runners are coming up next year, 2026. And I know everybody's really excited for those babies. He has very similar pattern to Speightstown, showing exceptional talent early on with Bob Baffert, and only a couple of setbacks early on limited his start to racing, but eventually he made 9 starts as a 4-year-old, winning 5 of those, culminating with that win in the Grade 1 Breeders' Cup Sprint. Physically, he resembles Speightstown, and his babies should be fantastic when they hit the racetrack next year. So make sure you check out Aloha West out at Millridge. All right, time now to say hello to Ashley Anderson in this week's TwinSpires Triple Play. Happy Breeders' Cup Saturday, Ashley.
Happy Breeders' Cup.
Looking forward to these 3 selections you made. Listen, this is always such a fun day of wagering, right? And I know TwinSpires probably has a whole bunch of special offers and promotions, as they always do, but especially on these big days when you can take advantage of some really great wagering opportunities. What's going on at TwinSpires?
Well, we definitely always have promos and tournaments going on. And for the Breeders' Cup, we have a $10 bet bag offer. So on your first single win wager, if your horse finishes 2nd or 3rd in select races, you'll get a bonus bet back up to $10. And that will cover all of our Breeders' Cup races, starting in race 4 with that filly and mare sprint and ending in race 12, the final race of the day on the card.
Wow. That's those bet back offers are something that TwinSpires does routinely, but when you have full fields, big prices, the way you do at Del Mar with the Breeders' Cup, you can really take some swings.
Yeah, and that's what I'm hoping to do today, is to take some swings with some prices in a few of these races I'm going to talk about. And I do think there's a chance to play some long shots that could come through. We've seen it happen many times in the Breeders' Cup, and if you have the bet back offer, if you opt into that, then you have a little insurance in a way. So might as well take a swing on one of the biggest days of racing.
There are going to be some exceptional racehorses, Grade 1, Grade 2 winners that are going to get off at double-digit odds, and that's what we're relying on this morning in the TwinSpires Triple Play. Ashley, let's kick it off with race number 4, the first race you've chosen. It is the Filly and Mare Sprint. Then we'll move on to the Distaff, and then eventually the Classic. The Filly and Mare Sprint, post time of 3 o'clock Eastern, that is noon locally at Del Mar on the West Coast, 7/8 of a mile. Always a contentious race. How'd you see it?
So this isn't one of my bigger prices. I'm going with a 4-1, the second choice on the morning line, and that's Hope Road, who is a horse that I had circled since the last Breeders' Cup. She raced on the undercard in the Grade 3 Bayakoa at a mile, and she wired the field that day, held off a late challenge by Alpha Bella when going slightly longer at a mile. Now she's cutting back to 7 furlongs. And there's a lot of early speed in this race. Sweet Azteca, the 2-1 morning line favorite, clearly going to go to the front. You've got Holland Ice, who is seemingly a need-the-lead type. Ricci and Splendora. I actually think Ricci's going to go to the front. Splendora probably sits off the pace. But ultimately, Hope Road, this is a horse that starting her career did go to the front, but lately has been rating off that early pace setter. Last out in the Ballerina, that's exactly what she did, and she won by 2 lengths, posted a 103 Brisnet speed figure, which is the highest last race speed figure among the field. And look at her workout on October 24th at Santa Anita, 5 furlongs and 57 4/5. That's a number you don't see often for a 5 furlong workout. She's clearly coming in sharp and ready to the Breeders' Cup. 4-1 is fine with me. Sweet Azteca is probably taking a lot of money, a very, very fast horse. But again, with all those other early speed types all wanting to go to the front, I think it's going to set up well for someone who can sit off the pace. So I'll back Hope Road at 4-1.
You talk about a home field advantage too, right? Those 6 starts at Del Mar, 3 wins, 2 seconds. Loves the racetrack.
Absolutely. And keeps Jose Ortiz aboard, who had the mount last out in the Ballerina. That was at Saratoga. But coming back to a track that clearly Hope Road has always liked. And last year when she won the Bayakoa, I remember Connection saying that the goal was to get her back to a Breeders' Cup race this year. That's exactly where she is in a Breeders' Cup race. And I think she has a very good shot to get a win in a Breeders' Cup race today.
Yeah, I would say so. She certainly looks live in that spot. And, of course, Hall of Famer Bob Baffert, Jose Ortiz, the team there, could be extremely dangerous. Hope Road, number 8, 4-1 on the morning line in the Filly and Mare Sprint. That's race number 4, the first Breeders' Cup race of the afternoon. And by the way, I forgot to mention before I introduced you, Ashley, our poll question this morning, which people are weighing in on. I'm asking people to share their best bet in this afternoon's Breeders' Cup races. Maybe, I guess the horse you think is going to win, but your best play of the entire day, the Mortal Lock, Lead Pipe Cinch, bet the farm. If you got 2 farms, bet them both kind of horse. So that's it. People can go to @HRRN on X. They can go to Horse Racing Radio Network on Facebook or email the show, Mike@horseracingradio.net. Maybe Hope Road will get some respect after your little analysis there, which I think was spot on. How about the Breeders' Cup Distaff? That's race number 7, 1 1/8 on the main track. How'd you see that race?
So here's where we're going to start to get into the bigger prices. Thought I would take a chance with a longer shot in the Distaff, and that's number 3, Clico, at 10-1. Much like the Filly and Mare Sprint, there's a lot of speed signed on to this race. You've got Seismic Beauty, who is a stablemate of Hope Road, and the 9-5 morning line favorite, a chance that she could just go way out front and make everyone play catch-up. She's fast enough to do that. But there are others in the field, Gin, Scottish Lassie, Dry Powder, who I think are going to push the pace and want to go out to the front as well. So I wanted an off-the-pace runner, and Clico's really impressed me lately. This is an improving 3-year-old on a 4-win streak, and you're getting a great price. Actually, I'm not sure, is it 10-1 or 12-1 on the morning line? But her only loss was on debut in a 7-furlong maiden special weight. And then since then, she's passed every test. She last out faced Grade 1 Company for the first time in the cotillion, and she got up by a neck with a career best 98 Brisnet speed figure, a 96 late pace rating. She's working out sharply at Churchill. She's got an inside post to save ground. She does lose Irad Ortiz Jr. to the Argentinian import for Nacho Correas, who I think is a wild card here too, but a little bit young for the race, I would say, and coming off a long layoff. So I like Clico. I think this horse continues to get better with age, and you get a great price. I also think if you want to play another price underneath, Scylla, who has been settling for minor awards, but going back to route distances where she started her career, and Bill Mott is a 5-time winner of the Distaff. I don't know if Scylla can win it based off of her bad case of seconditis, but I think can hit the board with a big price in this race as well.
Maybe some poetic justice for the Mott barn after losing Sovereignty in the Breeders' Cup Classic to that Fever earlier this week. Maybe Scylla finds a way to pull off a bit of a shocker in that particular the race, the Breeders' Cup Distaff.
Yeah, and same with Junior Alvarado, who's on Scylla and also would have been on Sovereignty. So hopefully they can get a win somewhere else, because that was one of the huge disappointments of the week, I would say, losing Sovereignty in the Classic, which we're about to talk about.
Gut punch. Yeah, gut punch to everybody, right? Racing fans, horsemen. I think everybody was looking forward to that showdown. Still a tremendous renewal of the Classic, but certainly lost some luster without the Derby winner in there.
I agree. I think he still probably wins 3-year-old honors. I don't think journalism could take it away even if he were to win the Classic, but we would have loved to have seen him in the race, because I think he had a great chance to beat some older horses.
Yep. Yeah, he was the morning line favorite when the news came out earlier this week. I'm going to ask you about another horse in the Distaff here, and that's the 9-5 morning line favorite, Seismic Beauty, for Bob Baffert. You picked his horse, Hope Road, in your first selection, the Filly and Mare Sprint. You don't pick him here. What don't you like about Seismic Beauty?
It's not that I don't like this filly. It's a lot of it's the price, 9-5. This horse seemingly is an either-lead type, has only ever won when going straight to the front. And the fact that we've got other speed out there. The 11 is probably going to try to go to the front from the outside. And then you also have Scottish Lassie, who we saw when she won the CCA Oaks, went straight to the front and ran away with it by 15 lengths that day. And then we also have, possibly the 2. When I was trying to look at the past performances of the 2, that horse had been forwardly placed in the past, and I think Nitrogen will push the pace from the rail as well. So just the fact that there's a lot of early speed in here, I thought that at the price of 9-5, I wanted to try to beat Seismic Beauty. I would still include her in horizontal wagers because she's a really, really good horse, but I thought there's a chance to play a price coming from off the pace. again, it's not that I don't like Seismic Beauty. She's really impressed me out in California. It's just a very, very short price to play.
Yeah, and number 2, Sarah Whack Rim for Ignacio Correas, a horse that comes from Argentina, as you said, has been running in good company there. Won a Grade 1 in Argentina last time out. We'll see how that translates here. It would be wonderful to see Ignacio win a race, as he's going to hang up his training career. He'll wrap it up after this season and move back to Argentina. So we'll see how that all plays out for him. But that would certainly be a popular win for so many people if you were to find a way to do that in the Breeders' Cup Distaff. But number 3, Clico, is the top pick of Ashley Anderson here this morning. Ashley, how about race number 9? That's the big one, the Breeders' Cup Classic. Again, Sovereignty out. Mindframe, maybe. Defending champion Sierra Leone, maybe. There are a lot of ways to go in here. Who do you like?
All right, I was going to play Sovereignty. If you were in it, you weren't going to get a good price, but I have been such a big fan of that horse, and I think he had a great shot going up against these older horses. But I went with Mindframe at 10-1. Now, the big storyline aside from Sovereignty has been that contrary thinking is in this field. The Rabbit for Sierra Leone, we're probably going to get an ideal setup for Sierra Leone. We saw contrary thinking help him in the Whitney, and then the goal was to do the same thing in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, but there was the DQ with Phileas Fogg, and that affected Mindframe. Ira Ortiz Jr. fell off the mount and actually landed in the path of Sierra Leone that day. So the Jockey Club Gold Cup was a little bit of a mess. Antiquarian ended up winning that race. But draw a line through that and look at Mindframe and the 3-win streak he had to kick off his 4-year-old campaign. He had a really impressive win in the Grade 1 Stephen Foster facing Sierra Leone. Now Sierra Leone was coming off a layoff that day. But Mindframe looked like he was really turning a corner in this 4-year-old season. And taking away, we don't really know what would have happened had he had a clean trip in the Jockey Club Gold Cup. So I'm looking for a bounce-back effort here. Ira Ortiz Jr. kind of a vengeance angle, too, getting a chance to, well, hopefully clean trip this time around and a little bit of payback for facing similar horses this time around that you saw in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, but hopefully can get some payback and beat the defending champ Sierra Leone and his emotional support rabbit, as some people call it, contrary thinking.
Yeah, well, contrary thinking in there to keep Fierceness company on the front end. In Fierceness's last 3 or 4 wins, he's shown the ability to sit just off the pace and rate. So if contrary thinking wants to go, you got to believe that Fierceness is going to be okay with that. But he does draw the inside post, so that's going to make Johnny V have to hustle him out of there a little bit. Obviously, you're not picking Fierceness, so you feel like the Rabbit is going to have a bit of a effect on him and maybe soften him up enough.
I'm anticipating that. I think contrary thinking is going to try to impact Fierceness the most. And we did see Fierceness break from the rail in the Pacific Classic at the same distance of 1.25 miles at Del Mar. That was an interesting trip because he kind of ducked in early and was able to overcome a very awkward start, I would say. But that was also a weak edition of the Pacific Classic. You had journalism in there. And aside from that, really not the toughest field to face. So I don't know how good that race really is if you look at the full field. It was just, there were really 3 in the field that you could have made an argument for, and the rest were easy to toss. So I don't know how much weight I want to put in the Pacific Classic, but he did break from that same rail post, and it wasn't even that good of a break. So if he can get out of the gate and not be impeded by contrary thinking, he certainly has a chance. But anticipating that contrary thinking is going to target Fierceness, I am looking at a different Todd Pletcher horse here with a much better price.
Yeah, definitely a better price. Mindframe 10-1 on the morning line. Let's recap Ashley's triple play for you on this Breeders' Cup Saturday morning. Race number 4, she'll go with number 8, Hope Road at morning line 4-1 in the filly and mare sprint. Race 7, the Breeders' Cup Distaff, she'll take number 3, Clico at 10-1. And race 9, the Classic, she'll go with number 8, Mindframe, also at 10-1 on the morning line. Ashley, just a full disclosure here, this segment being recorded on Thursday morning because of everybody's busy schedule with the Breeders' Cup in California. So if one of these horses would be scratched, we hope our listeners would understand. But let's hope that everybody stays on track and that we can get a couple of these horses home coming up later today.
Yeah, absolutely, because we're hopefully going to get some great prices as well.
All right. Ashley Anderson, enjoy Breeders' Cup Saturday.
Same to you.
don't forget you can play those races and every race you're going to bet on this Breeders' Cup weekend with TwinSpires. All right, coming up in just a minute, you're going to hear from Kurt Becker, his Stroll Through Racing History. Great story about champion Lady Eli, Breeders' Cup champion Lady Eli, and how tough she was to knock off throughout her racing career. Her story just absolutely remarkable, by the way, with her comeback and all of those things. Kurt will tell you that in just a moment, but want to update you on the impossible trivia question put together by our producer Lee Delapina for you here this morning. How much did Graham Stone and Will Dixon earn on their winning Pick 6 ticket for the 2003 Breeders' Cup? How much did they earn for that winning Pick 6 ticket for the 2003 Breeders' Cup? That's the impossible trivia question. The answer coming your way at the end of the show, 10:55 Eastern. Time to stroll through racing history with Kurt Becker next on the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
In the heat of competition, every breath matters. Flair Equine nasal strips are clinically proven to reduce airway resistance. By protecting their lungs, you can reduce the risk of VIPH, quicken recovery, and optimize performance. Make a difference in every race and every stride with the product backed by science and trusted by top trainers. Trust Flair for every horse, every breath. Learn the science at flairstrips.com. That's flairstrips.com.
Tenda Equine and Pet Care products have been keeping world-class equine athletes happy and healthy for generations. Keep your equine athlete looking and performing well with Tenda Next Generation Wound and Skin Care Treatment, along with nutritional supplements, leg and muscle care products, salves, hoof care, poultice, topical aids, and grooming products. Visit tendahorse.com today.
You're listening to Lady Eli Week, presented by Keeneland Sales and powered by the KTDF.
Keeneland November is where futures take root and legacies pass from one hand to the next. In the ring, excitement builds. A glance, a nod, a bid. History changes in an instant, and the impact lasts a lifetime. The market is here. The global stage is here. Your moment is here. Keeneland November.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Hello, I'm Kurt Becker. Thanks for joining me as I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. She was a three-time Keeneland Sales graduate, a Breeders' Cup winner, and an Eclipse champion. Because of the latter achievements, she commanded a price of $4.2 million at the Keeneland November sale once her racing career had concluded. Her name is Lady Eli. Foaled on February 2nd, 2012 at breeder Runnymede Farm in Paris, Kentucky, and co-bred by Catesby Clay, Lady Eli is a dark bay or brown daughter of Divine Park out of Sacre Coeur by St. Bellado. Her sire won the Grade 1 Metropolitan Handicap, while her dam never raced past age 2, but won a maiden special weight on the turf at Aqueduct. Runnymede's Martin O'Dowd once recalled that as a baby, Lady Eli was independent, not a real lovey-dovey type, but well-behaved. He also described her as a nice-sized filly. But the fact her sire stood for $10,000 at the time, coupled with his first two crops realizing only moderate success at the races, meant expectations were guarded when Lady Eli made her first trip to the auction ring. Purchased as a yearling by Pete Bradley at the Keeneland September sale, Lady Eli sold for $160,000, bringing 16 times the stud fee. The following April at Keeneland's 2-year-olds in training sale, she sold for the same price, this time to a general contractor by the name of Jay Hanley. A couple of years earlier, Handley had been in the process of building a home on Sheep Pond Road on Nantucket Island in Massachusetts for Sol Kumin when they decided to form a racing venture called Sheep Pond Partners. That would be the ownership under which Lady Eli would race, with the name Lady Eli being a tribute to a childhood nickname given to Kumin's wife, Elizabeth. Handley and Kumin were described by one turf writer as young owners who have racing in their blood, stars in their eyes, and an overall passion for the sport. If so, Lady Eli was about to pour fuel all over that passion. Going to the post as a juvenile for her career debut as the 6-5 favorite in a 2-turn maiden special on the turf at Saratoga, Lady Eli rallied down the stretch to win by a nose under jockey Irad Ortiz Jr. She then went to Belmont Park and won the Grade 3 Miss Grillo. Lady Eli's third career start would come on October 31st, 2014 in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies Turf at Santa Anita. Trevor Denman with the call.
Wide open at the top of the lane, but they are chasing Sunset Glow. Lady Eli now gets a break at the rail, and Lady Eli takes off along the inside. Lady Eli, electrifying turn of speed, gets the lead. Sunset Glow tries to battle back, but this is a scintillating performance from Lady Eli, star of the future. Lady Eli could not have been more impressive.
Sent to the post as the 2-1 favorite, Lady Eli ran a last quarter in 22-2 to get the mile in 1 minute 33.41 seconds. The time would be a full second faster than the Colts would run in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf that same day. The following season at age 3, Lady Eli ran her record to a perfect 6 for 6, with wins in the Grade 3 Appalachian at Keeneland, the Wonder again at Belmont Park, and the Grade 1 Belmont Oaks Invitational. But the Belmont Oaks win would come at a price. Walking from the post-race test barn to trainer Chad Brown's barn, Lady Eli stepped on a nail and within a few days developed laminitis in her front feet. It was a situation which endangered her racing career and potentially her life. Kumin remembers it all too well. Chad and his assistant at the time, Cherie DeVoe, took care of Lady Eli like she was one of their own children, says Kumin. The staff was sleeping in the barn, icing her feet. Cherie was there practically all the time. Through the extraordinary efforts described by Kumin, Lady Eli eventually found her way back to health and back to the races. The comeback was completed on October 8, 2016, when she won the Grade 1 Flower Bowl at Belmont Park, some 15 months after her win in the Belmont Oaks. Following a runner-up finish in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf to end the campaign, a race in which she was beaten on the wire in the final stride, Lady Eli returned at age 5 to win the Grade 1 Gamely at Santa Anita and the Grade 1 Diana at Saratoga. Despite finishing off the board at the Breeders' Cup, she still secured honors as Eclipse Champion Turf Female in what would be her final season of racing. Lady Eli retired with 10 wins and 14 starts to go with $2.9 million in earnings. She was a Grade 1 winner at ages 2, 3, 4, and 5, and she won 5 Grade 1 races total. Offered at Keeneland's 2018 November breeding stock sale in full to Warfront, Lady Eli commanded a price of $4.2 million, with John Sakura signing the ticket for Hillendale Farms. Lady Eli currently has a 2-year-old named Dr. Agnew racing at the stakes level, while she is also dam of a yearling by Uncle Mo. Chad Brown once said of Lady Eli, quote, "She breathes different air. She was a throwback, like a horse you would see in an old painting or photograph. Yet she was also a filly ahead of her time," end quote. We salute Lady Eli, a 3-time Keeneland Sales graduate, as part of Lady Eli Week, presented by Keeneland Sales and powered by the KTDF. Please join me again next week when I take another stroll through racing history presented by Keeneland. For HRRN, I'm Kurt Becker.
Kurt Becker with another fantastic story. If you did miss it, head over to our website after I finish up at 11 a.m. Eastern. And don't forget to subscribe to us on Podbean or Apple Podcasts to hear all of our weekly shows. Coming up next, I welcome Dale Romans and Tim Wilkin for this week's edition of I Ask, They Answer. This is the Equine Forum, presented by TwinSpires on HRRN.
This is HRRN, horse racing's voice.
Race to TwinSpires, where you can unlock a $25 risk-free bet. Just use the code HRRN25 when you sign up. And if your first bet doesn't win, TwinSpires will refund your account up to $25. Wagering on the app is fast with free past performances, insider picks, and power plays every day you wager. TwinSpires. Download the app today to earn your $25 risk-free bet. Void where prohibited. For terms and conditions, visit TwinSpires.com. Must be 18 or older, 21 and older where applicable. For help with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Top consignor Scott Mallory is offering an exciting November lineup, starting at Fasig-Tipton with Weanlings by Forte and Gunite, both out of multiple stakes-producing female families. At Keeneland, the Scott Mallory consignment features exciting Weanlings by Yopon, Jackie's Warrior, Loggins, Zandon, and Taba, as well as mares in foal to first-year sires Seize the Gray, Muth, Kingsbarns, Blazing Sevens, and domestic product, and established sires McLean's Music, Violence, and Authentic. There's something for every buyer at the Scott Mallory November consignments.
Deep in the heart of horse country, from these Kentucky hills has sprung a legacy rivaled by few. From the all-time greats of yesterday to the breed-shaping bloodlines of today, our roots hold strong with the promise of tomorrow. For over a century, our passion has guided us to where we stand and everything we stand for. Claiborne Farm, the tradition continues.
This is I Ask, They Answer on the Equine Forum on HRRN.
Even with what we did, we probably knew we had our backs up against the wall anyway. So in the very beginning, I said a 10% chance. And then when the fever came right down and he looked so good, I said, well, maybe there's a 50% chance. And then, after last night, or yesterday afternoon when he respiked, I said, well, that incident made the decision. That's what we said to begin with. If he respiked, he'd be out.
Mott speaking to the media on Wednesday morning to deliver the news that Kentucky Derby winner Sovereignty would be scratched from the Breeders' Cup Classic after spiking a fever. We'll tell you how that defection of the morning line favorite changes the complexion of this year's Classic. Plus, with mounts in 7 of today's 9 Breeders' Cup races, including fierceness in the Classic, what's the over-under on wins for Hall of Fame jockey John Velasquez? And 9-time Breeders' Cup winning trainer Richard Mandela sounds off after his talented filly Copion drew the rail in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. You won't want to miss what the Hall of Famer had to say. All of that and much, much more is straight ahead on a Breeders' Cup Saturday edition of I Ask the Answer with trainer Dale Romans and turf rider Tim Wilkin, all presented by the University of Louisville Equine Industry Program and the College of Business, and all starting just 30 seconds from right now.
A spark turns into a dream, and your dreams fuel a love that will last a lifetime. Turn your passion into a career with experienced guidance, a thorough study of equine business, as well as opportunities to get your hands dirty and put your mind to work. Located in the heart of horse country, let your passion fuel your profession at the U of L Equine Industry Program. Apply today.
Well, happy Breeders' Cup to all of you. Happy Breeders' Cup to our dynamic duo, Dale and Tim. We're going to dive right in with what was unquestionably the news of the week that broke on Wednesday morning when Sovereignty was declared out of the Breeders' Cup Classic. You heard what his Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott had to say as we opened the show here this morning. This is a massive blow to this year's Breeders' Cup. How does the defection of the Derby winner change the complexion of this year's Breeders' Cup Classic? Timmy, you've covered Bill Mott all week long as part of the Notes team. How does it change it?
Well, obviously, Sovereignty was the 6-5 morning line favorite, and I'm got to believe he was going to be on just about everybody's ticket. He was the horse that everyone was going to have to beat. Now that he's out, the odds have changed. Just to talk a little bit about how some of these horses' odds have changed since Sovereignty was come out. I mean, Fierceness is now the 5-2 favorite. He was 4-1. Sierra Leone, whose morning line was a pretty high 8-1, is now 7-2. Journalism is going from 10-5. And Forever Young from Japan, 6-1 to 7-2. So it's going to be a much more, I think, wide open race as before when Sovereignty was the overwhelming favorite, he was going to be the horse that everyone was going to have to beat. Now you still have, a field of very, very talented horses, of the 3-year-olds and the older horses. Changing the complexion, who wins? That's something I think we're going to talk about later on, but you can really make a case for just about all of them except for the rabid contrary thinking, in my opinion. And, it's turned into a great betting race now. As before with Sovereignty, I didn't think it was if you weren't going to take a stand against Sovereignty.
Dale, let me take this the other way with you for a minute. The rabbit that Tim just mentioned, contrary thinking, the other Chad Brown, if you will, entered to keep Fierceness company on the front end, hopefully set it up for the defending champion Sierra Leone, who's coming from far behind. People have been on both sides of the fence. Some people say, hey, it's been going on in racing since racing started, entering a horse to try to compromise the competition. Other people said, no, it's not fair. It shouldn't be allowed in a race like the Breeders' Cup. What do you think?
So it's been going on forever. It's part of the strategy of trying to win a race. Great horses don't have to have the lead. The great ones will come from behind, go to the front, whatever they have to do to win. And if he's a great one, he'll just sit off of him and come and pass him up in the stretch. It is. It's been a strategy since the beginning of horse racing.
How many times have you done that in a big race, Dale, or have you done that?
I've never done it. I've never put a rabbit. It used to happen a lot more, it seems like. I haven't heard about anybody having a rabbit in a race for a long time. And, the rabbit's got to know how to do his job. He doesn't just go out there and go to the front and open up 10. Then Pearsons doesn't know that there's one in front of him. He's got to get close to him and put pressure on him and make him go fast. And it's not an easy thing to do. I don't think it's going to have anything to do with the outcome of this race, to tell you the truth.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Wayne Lucas used to use a rabbit quite often when he was at his prime?
Yeah, I think he did. I mean, I can't name the rabbits, but I know I've heard stories from him about putting rabbits in races. I mean, it makes for a better race. Are you supposed to let the best horse just open up on the lead and gallop around there in front? Make him earn it.
I mean, it doesn't guarantee that Sierra Leone's going to win this race. I mean,
no, not at all. I don't think it'll have a bit of difference in the outcome of the race.
All right, let's play a little game in this next topic called Set the Line. This is a new segment I'm introducing for this Breeders' Cup Saturday, guys. You have Hall of Fame jockey John Velasquez, who is going to turn 54 on November 24th. He has mounts in 7 of the 9 Breeders' Cup races this afternoon, including defending champion Straight No Chaser in the Sprint and Fierceness, who we just talked about in the Classic. Set the line for me. What is the over-under on wins for the ageless Johnny V this afternoon? Dale, what do you think? How many?
I'm going to go 2 and probably bet over. He could have a fabulous weekend, as he has many times before. But I think Timmy, 2 out of the 7 would be real good. 2 out of 9, whatever he's riding, that would be a great weekend for him.
Yeah, his runners, other runners, by the way, Praying in the Filly and Mare Sprint, A.G. Bullet in the Turf Sprint. He has Darth Vader in the Distaff, Formidable Man in the Breeders' Cup Mile, the Turf Mile, and then She Feels Pretty in the Filly and Mare Turf. You could certainly make a case for over with that lineup right there, couldn't you, Timmy?
Oh, you could. That's why I was going to make my line at 3. I think, the fact that he has Fierceness, who could very well win this race. I don't think anyone's going to argue with that. A.G. Bullet in the Turf Sprint is 4-1. And, yeah, there's Euros in here. But A.G. Bullet, he caught my eye when down at Kentucky Downs winning that last couple years. Very fast. That could be a win. Darth Vader in the Distaff could be a win. So that's 3 right there. Would I just stay at the line there or try to go over or under? I mean, I'm not going to go under. I think he could win 3. I don't know if I'm going to go over that, but I might just hold it at 3.
Let's try to avoid a push here, Timmy. 2.5 or 3.5? You got to set the half. You got to do the hook.
Okay, then if it's 3.5, I'm going to take the under. I think he's going to win 3.
Dale, do you make yours 2.5?
I'll make mine 2.5 and still go over. We'll lay the hook. Now, let's hope he doesn't just ride 2 horses and then take himself off, say he's hurt.
We know how competitive John Velasquez is. It seems like he gets more competitive as he gets older, and it's a testament to what he's been doing, to keep himself fit and mentally good for this game. And he's not a Hall of Famer for a reason. He's a Hall of Famer for a reason, and the fact that he still gets out there and competes at a high level day in and day out is a testament to him.
Yeah, I tell all these young riders that are coming along right now that it's natural that they're athletes. I said the way you take care of yourself now is going to determine how you're going to ride at the end of your career. And he's a perfect example of that. He's always taken care of himself and done all the right things in life.
It always rubs me the wrong way when a commentator will talk about, in this instance, a jockey being 54 years old. Or we hear it a lot in golf. It's incredible what he's doing at the age of 42. Guys, I'm 54. Johnny V is the same age as me. I don't look at him as an old guy at all.
No, but he's an old guy in our game. He's an old guy in sports, that's for sure. How many 54-year-olds in any sport are competing at a high level? It's only horse racing.
54 is the new 30.
All right, let's see if you can set this line for me. You have horses bred in a record 13 countries represented at this year's Breeders' Cup, which sets up a perfect U.S. versus the world kind of showdown for the home team. Set the line. Tim, what is your over-under for wins for the host country in this afternoon's 9 races?
Setting the line on this, I'm going to set it at 4.5 for the good old U.S. of A.
Okay.
And I'm going to tell you why. Going through the races, in the Philly Mare Sprint, I'll do this quick. 8 of the 9 are from the U.S. The Turf Sprint, you got half the field from the U.S. And the Sprint, 13 of 14 from the U.S. The Distaff, 11 of 13 from the U.S. Classic, all but 1 from the U.S. The Dirt Mile, 9 of 10 are from the U.S. In the Mile, 9 of 13 are from Europe, and that's one of the races that they've dominated. The Philly and Mare Turf, 6 of 14 are from the U.S. So I think you go over and think the U.S. is going to go over 4, and the Euros are going to have their days in the sun in the turf races. There's no doubt about that. But the turf and the mile. But other than that, I think the U.S. is going to have a bunch of trophies.
That's a good line, 4.5. I'll agree with you on it, and I'll take over also. I hope we dominate. But you also, besides the Euros, you got to throw the Japanese in there. I mean, Forever Young looks good out here training.
Yeah, I mean that's the only one in the Classic that's not a U.S. bred horse. So, I just think that the U.S. is going to be very strong in all the races except those 2.
All right.
So I'll take the over for sure.
It'll be fun to watch later this afternoon. How about this topic? Richard Mandela's ultra-talented filly Copion takes on the boys in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. She is 7-2 on the morning line. She gets 27-time Breeders' Cup winning jockey Mike Smith in the irons, but she drew the inside post number 1. Her Hall of Fame trainer had a little fun when he was asked about that post position by TwinSpires earlier this week.
Well, we didn't want to give the boys any advantage, so we took the worst post we could get, just to show how good we are.
If that's not a Richard Mandela answer, I don't know what is. Guys, how much, if at all, does that post position change your opinion of her chances? And is defending sprint champion Straight No Chaser being disrespected at 8-1 on the morning line? Dale, what do you think? The inside post make much of a difference?
The inside post still haunts me. And Dennis's moment stumbling out of the gate at Cincinnati in Santa Anita. It's not the ideal spot to be with any horse, especially in a sprint. If you come off a fraction slower, you can get shuffled back quickly. I wouldn't like it if I was Richard.
The rail is not ideal, obviously. I mean, she has had an inside post before. She started from post 2 when she won the Derby City Distaff. mean, she's obviously very talented, but, a horse can get boxed in from there. I think in the last – now, I take this with a grain of salt. I did do some research on this, but I've been working my little butt off this whole week working for the Breeders' Cup Notes team, so I had to go quick, all right? But the last 10 years there hasn't been a horse that's won this race from the rail. She's talented, no doubt, but crazy things happen in the Breeders' Cup Sprint, and I just think it's going to be a detriment here for her. It's something that she has to overcome. Is she good enough to do it? She has talent, but I don't know if she's going to be able to overcome this one.
What about Straight No Chaser? Is he being disrespected at 8-1 on the morning line? He's the defending champion in this race.
Yeah, he is, but I mean, he's not coming into. I think he may have. He stubbed his toe a couple times this year, which took him off the radar a little bit. He is now 6 years old. I mean, older horses have won this race before. I mean, Kona Gold, I believe, was 6 when he won this race. It can be done. He's got 7-year-olds have won this race. Whitmore won this at 7. But I'm looking elsewhere for the winner of this race. Straight No Chaser, I think, had his day in the sun last year. I don't think it's happening this year.
Yeah, that was then. This is now. A year is a long time in a horse's life.
Two different scenarios. We'll see if Straight No Chaser can defend that title coming up this afternoon. Let's move on and say hello to our friend Nick Zito. This is the part of the show where Dale and Tim have the chance to tell me if the following statement is right or wrong.
Yeah, right or wrong. Am I right? What do you think? Right or wrong?
Guys, it focuses on another horse breaking from the inside post position, and that's defending Breeders' Cup Turf champion Rebels Romance. He will become the first 3-time winner of that race this afternoon. Is that right or wrong?
What do you think? Right or wrong?
Tim, what do you think?
I'm going to say right. Rebels Romance is just really, really, really good. I mean, he won this race last year, and then 2 years ago he won it. And now coming back now and try again. Charlie Appleby's done just a fantastic job with this horse. He looks to me like he's still at the top of his game. I think he's going to win this race again.
No, I agree. I say you're right. He's just better than the rest of them. Appleby has done a good job. He always does with every horse. So I'm going to say you're right.
His main competition could come from a 3-year-old filly in here, trained by the legendary Aidan O'Brien, who after this Breeders' Cup could be looking at himself as the all-time leading trainer in Breeders' Cup history with number of wins. But Aidan O'Brien sends out Mini Hawk, who was second in the Arc de Triomphe against the boys last time out, beaten just ahead. It's great to see a 3-year-old filly jumping into a race like this, facing older horses, and being a legitimate contender. She's really, really good, isn't she, guys?
She is good. She does have a chance in here. I just think he's better.
I mean, Mini Hawk has won 5 of 7 career starts in the other 2 races, was second. The most recent at the Arc in Longchamp was beaten just by a head. So, he deserves to be in this race, but she's going to run into a bear in Rebels Romance.
Well, again, if he can pull it off, he'll be the first 3-time winner of the Breeders' Cup Turf. We'll see how that plays out later today. A couple more topics to get to before our final point of the week on this Breeders' Cup Saturday edition of the program. Both of these coming from our listeners. Again, if you have a question for Dale and Tim, you can email the show. We'll get them worked in for you. Tom in St. Louis, guys, has a question about Breeders' Cup safety protocols and procedures. And Dale, he wants to know, is a trainer required to do anything different in the days leading up to the Breeders' Cup compared to any other race on a daily basis? For example, are there different veterinary inspection schedules or blood tests, things like that may be required because it is the Breeders' Cup?
There's all the above. The biggest thing is that nobody knows about. Every horse that goes on the racetrack for the Breeders' Cup has to go in the chute and jog in front of the vet center. The whole team of vets watching them all jog before they even let them go out to gallop or breeze. And they do a lot more random checks. They'll check on them. A lot of them they're checking on every day. If they see something that may be a little suspicious, the vets will go out and make them jog. They're starting to use technology we never did before. It's a thing called a SWEP app where they film the horse and then they send it off somewhere and it comes back in 5 minutes and shows you if a horse is putting too much pressure on any limb, for instance. That goes on. And there is just random blood testing out of competition before all week long they'll be drawing blood on horses and checking them. So there's a lot more protocol goes into Breeders' Cup than the average day of racing.
Timmy?
Well, it's something that I've seen it all week at every barn. I mean, it's something you don't see normally, and I think it's good that they're doing their due diligence and checking on every one of these horses, and a lot of them multiple times just to make sure everything is right. I'm sure sometimes it can drive a trainer crazy because you'll have a horse that might have kind of a hitch in his gait or just walks a little funny, but that might be him, but the trainer sees it every day. And the vets might think, oh, this is something wrong here, a red flag. But it normally isn't, because the trainers, the vets also have to give the trainers more of a say. Let them tell them what these horses, if they have these little idiosyncrasies, let them know that that's just the horse. It's not an injury. And for the most part, though, I think it's something that is good, because you want to have the safety first for the horses. That's something that I think everybody that follows this game would agree on.
Well, our final topic on today's show, shifting gears completely, guys, is a topic that's going to get under Dale's skin a little bit, because Dale's not a fan of handicapping topics on this show. But Brad in Saskatchewan and Shane in North Carolina both send in a handicapping-related topic. And Dale, I'll let Tim go first on this one. Brad wants to know, what's your best long shot play for today's Breeders' Cup races? Timmy, do you want to take it first and give Dale a little time to think?
I'll give him all the time he wants to think. Although I think Dale's playing possum on this. I think he knows more than he lets on. Maybe it's his sly handicapping techniques, the Romans way, or the Romans rule. But you want a long shot? I'm going to give you a long shot for today, and it comes in the distaff. I think Scylla from Hall of Fame trainer Bill Mott is going to run huge and upset the distaff. This horse is always there. Ran a pretty good third in the Spinster after sprinting this summer. I think Bill Mott has her just sitting on a huge race. She worked 46 the other day here, and some people might think that was too fast, but Bill Mott thought it was just what she does. So I think Scylla is going to upset the Breeders' Cup distaff.
Can you repeat the question? First of all, I'm going to say I think that Bill, after Timmy spending a week with him out here, has passed Bob as his favorite trainer.
I was thinking the same thing, Dale. I was shocked he didn't pick a Baffert horse.
Yeah, I know. He didn't pick Bob, and Bob will be upset about it, but I think Bob's second fiddle now. And I agree with him. Bill's one of my favorites. I'm going to pick a long shot. But, see, the problem is once I announce it on the show, he won't be a live long shot anymore. Banishing in the sprint. That's oddly run. Banishing.
Yeah. Good pick.
And that's always an oddly run race, and you got to get a lot of things to go right. You got the filly down on the rail. So Banishing will be my live long shot. Now, don't everybody get out there making 5-2.
Charlestown Classic winner.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Dale, I'll come to you first on this next part of this topic. It comes from Shane in North Carolina. He wants to know, what is your bold prediction on this Breeders' Cup Saturday? Give us a bold prediction.
That part of the script Timmy didn't tell me about this morning.
Well, here, Shane says that Mindframe will stun the Classic field, and defending champion Sierra Leone not only will get beat, will finish off the board.
I'm going to disagree with him. I say Sarah Leone wins.
All right,
that's
bold.
That's your bold prediction?
That's my bold prediction.
Timmy?
Okay. Well, my bold prediction is going to come in the Classic, and I'm going to make my bold prediction and say that Baeza is going to upset the Classic, and Mindframe is going to run second. How's that?
Ooh.
Full disclosure, those are two of my horses in the pool, but I really like Baeza.
When are we going to start talking about the competition? Yeah, when does that come up?
I thought it was over.
Well, yeah, it's all but over, but Baeza is an upset for the Classic. John Sheriffs has been talking about how this horse is, he thought, one of the best 3-year-olds in the country. Thinks he's getting better since the Pennsylvania Derby. He looked like $1 million when I saw him 2 days ago, and has a chance to upset these. And then, you know, it would be nice for a 3-year-old to win this, and because that would flatter Sovereignty even more.
All right, we've got just about a minute and a half left here, guys. Maybe a minute. We've got to wrap it up. But the Showdown 4 concludes after today's races. Dale essentially has to blank with all of his horses. None of his horses can hit the board later today. And Timmy would have to win with all of his to have any kind of chance. It's a long shot. Dale looks like he's going to three-peat in the Showdown competition.
I think it's already mathematically impossible for me to catch it.
Very, very well could be, Timmy. I didn't run the numbers like you did. The Sultan of research.
I happen to run the numbers, and it's mathematically impossible for me to lose. And I want us to take more time next week discussing Euro's inept ability to pick horses.
That would be a great final point of the week. But Dale still has one coming. Timmy, what's your final point of the week?
My final point of the week is I just want to thank the trainers that I dealt with all week. Bob Baffert, Bill Mott, Riley Mott, Will Walden, Kenny McPeak, the ones that I dealt with for the Breeders' Cup Notes team. They've all been, couldn't have been more accommodating. And although Bob was a little short with me on Friday, so I didn't like that.
We knew there was something going on there. I'm going to say the Breeders' Cup's done a great job. They did a terrible thing putting my horse on the also eligibles. He should have been in the body of the race. Very poor job of the handicap. And other than that, it's been great out here. They've done a wonderful job.
Guys, enjoy Breeders' Cup Saturday, and hopefully that bromance with Tim and Bob Baffert gets back on track after the Breeders' Cup.
All right. See you next week.
All right, enjoy the day. If you have a topic you want Dale and Tim to discuss, email the show, mike@horseracingradio.net. We will do our best to work it in for you. I Ask the Answer is presented by the University of Louisville, Equine Industry Program, and the College of Business. I'm back with more and the answer to this week's impossible trivia question next on the Equine Forum on the Horse Racing Radio Network, where racing comes to talk.
The world's premier breeding stock event, the November sale at Fasig-Tipton. A night of stars featuring over 70 graded stakes winners or producers, and no less than 30 Grade 1 winners or producers. Champions, millionaires, elite producers, and selected weanlings. One catalog, one spectacular session, one star-studded evening with the highest concentration of quality breeding stock anywhere in the world. The Fasig-Tipton November sale, November 3rd in Lexington, Kentucky. Where will you be?
A Keeneland session topper from the first crop of the all-conquering Vekoma. Jonathan's Way was touted by purchaser John Moynihan as, quote, one of the best-looking horses you'll ever lay your eyes on. Out of an undefeated stakes-winning juvenile daughter of Indian Charlie, Jonathan's Way is a complete outcross through his first 5 generations and comes from the immediate female family of the great Dynaformer. Brilliantly talented with the pedigree and physical makeup to be commercial dynamite. Jonathan's Way, a future stallion star standing at Airdrie Stud. Think about it.
Send your mare to Maryland. After she foals here, breed to one of our stallions, and your 2025 foal is eligible to be a registered Maryland bred, giving you the opportunity to earn significant bonuses. And beginning with 2-year-olds of 2025, Maryland bred and Maryland sired horses will earn 40% higher breeder bonuses than out-of-state sired runners. Maryland, a foundation of greatness, a bright future ahead. Learn more at MarylandThoroughbred.com.
VA has a new life insurance program for veterans with service-connected disabilities called Veterans Affairs Life Insurance, or VA Life. VA life benefits include up to $40,000 in coverage, no medical questions to enroll, and no time limit to apply if you are age 80 or under. Veterans can apply, receive an instant decision, and manage their policy online. Learn more about VA Life or apply online by visiting va.gov/life-insurance. Protect those who matter most with VA Life Insurance.
You're listening to the Equine Forum on HRRN, presented by TwinSpires.
Don't forget to follow Blood Horse on X, Instagram, and YouTube for on-the-ground footage from Del Mar on this Breeders' Cup Saturday. They've been there throughout the entire week. You'll see exclusive photos and interviews, videos, and insights from the Blood Horse staff. You can follow the publication serving the thoroughbred industry since 1916 for all your Breeders' Cup coverage on X at Blood Horse or on Instagram at The Blood Horse. Yeah, they do a wonderful job. They've been there all week long and really keeping up with all the action. Lee Delapina has the answer to this week's Impossible Trivia question. Lee, what do you got?
Thank you, Mike. How much money did Graham Stone and Will Dixon earn on their winning ticket in the 2003 Breeders' Cup? They won $2,687,611.20. The two South Dakota friends split an $8 ticket in the Breeders' Cup Pick 6.
You can keep the 20 cents, by the way. Man, fantastic. That's the beauty of the Breeders' Cup, right? You can invest a little bit, and with so many big prices out there, maybe you get lucky. Let's get lucky, right? That's the phrase that we hear quite often in horse racing. Why not? Let's get lucky one time. And that was certainly a great moment for those guys. 4 hours away from the first Breeders' Cup race. That's the Filly and Mare Sprint. Should be a good one. 9 more coming up this afternoon. The Breeders' Cup Classic, not the last race on the card, but that's okay. Still going to be a fantastic race even without Sovereignty. Best of luck to everybody playing the Breeders' Cup races later today. I hope you enjoyed the show. My thanks to all of our guests, including Boyd Browning Jr. from Fasig-Tipton, Tim Wilkin, Mike Kane. You heard from Sol Kumin, Price Bell, Ashley Anderson with the TwinSpires Triple Play, Kurt Becker for his Stroll Through Racing History, Dale and Tim in the previous segment. My thanks to my producer, Lee Delapina, in our Lexington studios, to Chauncey for handling all of our social media. I'm Mike Penna. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the Breeders' Cup. Good luck at the windows. Go Steelers, I hope.